Not interrupting anything. Good evening, everyone.
Sangeet, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes, I think we should start now. I mean, members will join in 5 minutes. That is okay. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I am Krishnan, General Secretary of Abu Dhabi CA Chapter. On behalf of Abu Dhabi CA Chapter, it's my great honor and pleasure to welcome you all for the much awaited and exciting event on Headhunting, Decoded, Upskill and Reskill, and enhancing the opportunities. I strongly believe at this current juncture of job loss, pay cuts, and fierce competition on very few openings, it is important for each and every one of us to enhance our skills to meet the expectation of the current employer or the potential employer. Keynote speaker of the day, Mr. Nazar Al-Balushi. Speaker of the sessions, Mr. Viraj Kalra, Dr. Sangeet Ibrahim, Mr. John Falls, and Ms. Noam Mian. On behalf of the chapter and members, I take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you to accept our invitation to address our member, to share your thoughts, tips, and tricks. Members, we have been planning this event for quite some time, and we are fortunate to have a great line of speakers today, and they'll be decoding each and every aspect on this subject. In today's session, the speakers will also highlight the MBTI tool, that is Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, which is used by the companies to understand the potential candidate communication style and how they interact with others. The speaker will also highlight resume optimization tips and what the employer looks in a resume, how the online recruitment tools filters the resume, what are the keywords the online recruitment tools will look at it, and do's and don'ts on the interview. On the other event front, on account of the current situation, we'll continue to use our platform online till the situation improves, and hope we'll be able to meet in person in July. We sincerely thank each and every member for their feedback on the type of session your chapter would like to conduct. It helps us to plan our event in such a way that which will be beneficial for our members. Our next PDC event is on 2nd June, which is Wednesday, and it's a joint event with IIA, Institute of Internal Knowledge Association, on the technology front. On the second fortnight of June, we'll be doing an event on NRI taxation and VAT, and there are more sessions which we are planning to do it in June and July. On the social event front, our chapter is very active. Currently, the weight loss program is going on, and close to 100 members have registered for it. The same way we are doing the cycling event, then Gate to Fit Body and Mind, which we are planning to do this week, bingo, talent show, and so on. So the chapter would like to do more and more events for the benefits of members. We request the members to attend all the events organized by the chapter, and also encourage your fellow CA chartered accountants to attend the event. Without the support of the members, without the active participation of the members and the encouragement, we'll not be able to do more and more events. So we need your support, and in order for us to do more events. Last but not the least, if you are not paid the membership fees for the year 2021, we request you to pay the nominal fees of AED 150 at the earliest, in order for us to get the best chapter award once again. Without taking any further time, now I handed over the stage to CA Neeraj, Chairman of the chapter, for further proceedings. Over to you, CA Neeraj.
Thank you, Krishnan. Thanks a lot. Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to another exciting session, which focuses on enhancing employability and upskilling. I mean, these are the key words these days. I mean, how to be employable and how to reskill and upskill what you have. I mean, with a lot of changes in all dynamics, probably because of automation, artificial intelligence, all chartered accountants needs to upskill and reskill their current skills. I hope everyone is keeping safe and doing well. Please get vaccinated. I mean, we already have an arrangement with Burjeel Hospital to arrange a fast-track vaccination for our members. A few days ago, we also rolled out the vaccination program for kids above 12 years through Cleveland Clinic. This is a Pfizer vaccination, which we sent out a circular that anyone who wants to get it done on a fast track basis for their kids, they can register. And there were around 50 members who registered their kids for this vaccination. We expected many more, but maybe people are just taking a bit easy, saying that probably they want to look how it develops. Anyway, the vaccination is the only way going forward. This country is doing great, and we are just thankful to the leaders who is providing such kind of healthcare and wellness for all our citizens and residents. ICI India is assisting all the COVID impacted members in all the way they can, by arranging cash benefits, by providing oxygen, beds. There are many volunteers who are engaged in that. And we proudly announce that your chapter has committed rupees 10 lakhs contribution to Chartered Accountant Benevolent Fund for this cause. This money will be paid to those guys those members who have lost their life because of COVID, and there is no other earning members in the family to take care of these poor families. So that is how this money will be managed. And thank you all the members for your approval and consent to this. This is a big contribution from our side to this cause for ICI Delhi. We are thankful to Nasir Al-Bulushi, head of Group HR, Ali and Sons. Thank you for taking out time to address our members. Thank you, sir. During current times, many members may have lost their job or are facing pay cuts. They're looking for better employability, better opportunities. And today's event session has been thoughtfully planned by the managing committee to assist members to get an insight on how to prepare resume, job applications, what to do, what not to do. Note down things that would help you to be employable. Upskill and reskill is the utmost importance these days. We are privileged to have Vijay Kalra and Sangeet Ibrahim, who will talk about skill development. We have Norman Mia and John Falls, who will decode headhunting. The chapter is trying to engage with all stakeholders, as Krishnan mentioned in his talk, that we are planning to do a few professional development events, as well as the health initiative that has been taken by our social leaders. That is really amazing that almost 100 members are participating towards it. And thank you, members, for your time. And of course, it is for your benefit, but definitely any activity, any event is successful with a full participation from our members. And we have also, just to make it more interactive, this weight loss challenge, we have hired a diet consultant who will be addressing and engaging all the members from time to time, how to keep fit through all this process during 60 days. We are also planning on the social front to have a second round of bingo with a lot of cash vouchers to be won. So I request all the members to keep eye on the circular and please register for that. So I welcome you all for the CPE meeting, virtual CPE meeting, and request everyone to be safe. I now request Mohammad Shafiq to take over, please. Thank you so much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's first straight away jump into the keynote address. We have a very special person, and we are very privileged to have Mr. Nasir Al-Bulushi. He is a professional senior HR executive with 20 years of excellence-driven experience in diversified industries. He started a journey in UAE Armed Force, where he honed his skills as a military officer and built a record of competence that constructed the foundation of his career. In 2012, he stepped into the private corporate world and was brought in by Al-Futtaim Automotive Group, where he overseen the group's emeritisation and corporate affairs and was overlooking the people agenda in Al-Futtaim Lexus. In 2021, he joined Alliance Sons Group as a head of group human resource, driving the people agenda in Alliance Sons in line with group strategy and overall transformation plan. Nasir is also the recipient of the prestigious Sheikh Rashid Al Maktoum Award for Scientific Excellence and the highly coveted Al Futtaim Vice Chairman Values Award in honor of his services and contribution. Nasir enjoys learning, being the instrument of change, driving positive results, cultivating team engagement and development talent. His academic ventures include being a recipient of master's degree from Alain University and BSc degree in aeronautics from St. Louis University, USA, besides a diploma in HR. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Nasir Al-Bulushi. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I would like to thank everybody for inviting me, actually. and being part of this event. This is a privilege to myself. Thank you, Krishnan. Thank you, John, Neeraj, thank you, Shafiq, and the whole members of ICAI, Abu Dhabi chapter. And again, thank you for having me. I'm privileged to be among John, Viraj, and Sangeet, and Norman, really, to be talking to you today about a topic I believe it's very important. And there's nothing new about what I'm going to say, actually, but if you allow me, I would like to share with you some highlights, which I'm sure people like Sangeet and John, beside Norman and Viraj, will be actually talking extensively about it, and share with you some of the tips that you would need in this very much changing world. Before that, allow me to share with you what I believe strongly about, that whatever we're going to go through or we're going through these days and last year will just make us stronger and much better equipped to adapt to any change going forward. Our hearts, our prayers, our thoughts are with our families who have been affected, whether it's in India or in UAE or any place in the world. And we wish them all to be better. It's good news from Viraj and the rest of the team to know that things are much better now in India. So that's a relief, because we, at the end of the day, we are a global family. So wish you and wish your family to be safe and to, inshallah, to overcome this much stronger together, inshallah. I was shared with a report from the World Economic Forum, really, just today, actually, that 50% of employees will need to upskill to support business growth. So this is not about UAE, this is not about India, this is a global trend, that upskilling is a requirement, and there is that much of need. And 40%, as per the World Economic Forum, 40% of core skills that exist today will be subject to change. I was privileged to attend the CIPD Middle East conference last week. And when they tackle this point, it's not about that things will be automated. We will always need accountant, by the way. So you guys gonna be here for a good time, inshallah. And it's more about the skills that needed, what you guys need to change to equip with the new trend of change, whether it's digital platforms or the way we do business. And I always, and probably John and Sangeet are better than me, together with the rest of the panel, to actually elaborate more. I always look at finance and accounting as being an enabler to the business. And if you come with that kind of mindset, things will be much easier for you if you just get away from just focusing on the numbers. We need somebody to focus on the numbers, but you guys need to see your value, especially people who work in finance and accounting. You guys are sometimes actually not actually support function as much as enabling function. And this is something I learned from my colleagues when I was working with Al-Fuqim and currently in Ali and Sons. So 50% of the employees will need to upskill their skills. And 40 of course skills that exist today will be subject to change. So what's the key word here? Being adaptive to change. If you think what got you here will take you to wherever you want, probably you're wrong. That's not necessarily the way it should be. So you need to always adapt yourself to the changes, and you need to see how you can actually upskill or reskill and redeploy your talent somewhere else. And by acquiring new talent, new skills required. On the well-being, because I was really happy to know that your chapter also look after the well-being of your associates through different initiatives like bicycling and others. I like this one, which actually came from Professor Sir Gary Cooper, and he said it very nicely: creating a well-being culture in the workplace positively impact the business bottom line. So it's not something nice to have. It's actually impacting your money at the end of the day. And you guys look after our money. And this is something that you actually should, I would love our finance and accounting people to start to think about it that way, that people agenda, when we care about people engagement, when we care about inducting the right talent into our institution, actually that pay off sometimes much more than you think. It's not about fulfilling the requirement of certain project or task. It's actually they're more into it, that you probably were opening yourself a new channel of revenue by acquiring the right talent and by making sure that their well-being is looked after, and by making sure that they're equipping themselves with a new trend in the market and the new skills required. And at the end of the day, it's actually people who make or break any organization. And I love this quote actually from a gentleman called Andrew. He works for Etihad Airline. He's Vice President of Leadership and Development. And this is something probably I would like to leave it with you guys to resonate the way that I would love to, that some of you guys already leaders. I know that I can see currently we have a bunch of them already on the screen, but I'm sure that some of the people that who with us in this forum also are leaders in their business. So it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. It is okay to be authentic. It's okay to be genuine. It's okay to be yourself. And it's okay to be vulnerable. Doesn't mean that as a leader, you should be modeling everything. Sometimes it's okay for you to be afraid. And I think we all been through this, especially last year, because the pandemic, it's not what's hurting only the business, the economy. It's actually had so much of impact on our mental health. And when people start to realize that it's okay for them to feel that stress and to seek help and to talk about it, things get much, much better than when we started trying to denounce this, that this is not happening or it's not going to happen to me. So to sum it up, my colleagues will be actually talking about this in details. I will leave it for them, but please remember that it's a requirement now to adapt. The only thing constant will be going forward will be the change. And to cope with the change, you need to re-look at what you need. Probably need to look at the set of the skills that you have and see how you can enhance the one that you need to carry forward or add to it the things that you've probably been missing. And I would like to finish my speech like I started by thanking everybody here and looking forward to hear from the gentlemen in the panel. I'm sure there is a lot for them to offer to all of us, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Nasir. I mean, your message has been very strong and beautiful as well. You touched base on statistics that 50% has to get upskilled and reskilled. You came up with a very strong message saying that don't be afraid to ask, take help, even as a leader. So thank you for your message to everyone, and we really appreciate your time and your very good address to our members. Thank you so much.
We have a certificate as a token of appreciation. Definitely, you have added value. As a takeaway, I would say, like, what you got, what got us here won't take you there. That's a clear message. And also one thought to ponder over is it's okay to ask help and it's okay to be vulnerable. So let's move to our second, the first session. The speaker is Viraj Kalra. I'm very happy to introduce him today. He's very energetic. Viraj, on various ranking, is rated among the top 20 executive coaches from Asia. Wow. In his 15 plus years of coaching and training experience, he has trained leaders of organizations such as PepsiCo, Accenture, Sony, Amazon, Nestle, GSK, Cognizant, ByteDance, which is TikTok, Adobe, Intel, Embassy of Denmark, and so on, and many more. Viraj is most popular for his 4-quadrant framework titled New Age Leadership. Over the next 30 minutes, he will share some relevant to the times insight from this framework. Over to you, Viraj.
Thank you so much for that introduction, CA Mohammad Shafiq. Thank you so much for having me over for this session, CA Neeraj Ritolia, and to the entire organizing team of ICAI Abu Dhabi, the CA chapter. Mr. Nasser Al-Balushi, that was a fantastic opening note. I think that keynote was much needed. Lots of takeaways from there. And what I really liked and appreciate about what you said is that we are one global family. We are all currently in the same storm, even if on different boats. I think that's one quote that has resonated with me a whole lot through the last few months, that yes, globally, we are all in the same storm, even if we are in different boats. And I think all that you mentioned about change being the only constant, that thought resonates a whole lot with me as well. And as we were speaking about it a while ago, I think amongst a lot of other speakers, coaches, talent experts from across the globe, one of the things that I've been doing over the last 10 years is I've been constantly talking about how what got us here will not take us there. And we've been speaking about it for the last 10 years. And I think it just probably came and hit us like a ton of bricks in the last 1 year, that much more. I keep saying that, whatever happened with this pandemic was always supposed to happen. The pandemic only speeded up the process. It just shook us up quicker, faster than what it would have had the pandemic not happened. And I think it's been a wake-up call for all of us. For example, this session that I'm doing with you here right now from home with my dog barking in the background, I would have never thought that I would be doing a session like this. I could have never thought that I'd be doing a session like this till even about 12 months ago. Till 12 months ago, if somebody told me that you're supposed to do a session, I would assume it would happen at a 5-star hotel in a big fancy room with me wearing a tuxedo, with a switcher in my hand, a big projector in the background, with me pacing across round tables, going from round table to round table and making my point, because that's the format I'm used to of. But from that to this, the swift change happened very matter-of-factly because we were left with no choice. And somebody like me who talks about new age leadership, even I was caught off guard and did not expect that, I'll be in the situation that I'm in. But we learned very quickly. But while we were learning, we also were conducting this research across domains, across sectors. And I'd like to share a little bit of that with all the CA friends that we have here, because a part of that research is relevant to you. If you allow me to share my screen, I'd like to share a little bit of that with you. Please show me a thumbs up if my screen is visible to you.
Yeah, this is it.
What next? I think that's the question which is on all our minds, not just today, but forever. But I think it's that much more relevant today. Yes, jobs are going. Yes, reskilling, upskilling, cross-skilling, new skilling are all up for grabs. But in the midst of all of this, I think what stays key is that we all want to constantly keep climbing up, and qualitatively so. I think another thing which has changed in recent years is that all of us have moved from ranking in quantities to ranking in quality. Whether it is schools, or it is jobs, or it is interviews, or it is your annual appraisals, there was a time when everything was spoken about in quantity. Now, increasingly, we are talking in quality. So all of you people who talk numbers, I think what has become also of focus in recent years is that other than numbers, people also expect words to define that number. If you say somebody is an 8 on 10, what makes them an 8 on 10 is of equal importance. A lot of companies today are no more talking about being the largest or talking about being number one. but everybody's talking about being the best. So the focus from largest is moving to being the best. And I think that's the qualitative focus, which is also happening to people. So I think whoever we are today, irrespective of that, when you say what next for the CA community, being the CFO or the CEO is what probably is one part of the trajectory that all of us seek from employment. But then there are a lot of us who probably are looking at being entrepreneurs, are probably looking at being consultants, are probably looking at being directors of various companies, putting your sweat equity in and not really your own money. You could be looking at becoming partners to startup ventures. And of course, like me, some of you may aspire to become a coach going forward. So irrespective of which of these you intend to do, like I said, in this new abnormal, which is shaping up all around us, call it the VUCA world, call it changes that are happening rapidly because of tech. The word tech attaches itself to any industry and suddenly you see growth there, you see spurts there. So fintech also is happening all around us right now. And that may be of appeal to all of you in the world of accounting, bookkeeping, and finance. So whether it is because the world is VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, or whether it is because tech is rapidly changing everything around us, or it is because of new age organizational models that are shaping up around us. I know many companies today who are saying that beyond a senior manager rank, we do not want you as an employee anymore. You might as well become a partner. Case in point, look up this company. Till 2 years ago was 30 people. Right now is about 3,500 people. The first CFO of the company is now the partner of the company, and so are about 20% of the employees. And I'm not just talking about straightforward ESOPs, but I'm talking about even more straightforward equity. Recently got invested into by Visa and MasterCard. And overnight, Mr. CFO was told that the Visa unit needs a new CEO and we'd like you to head it. And he said, well, but I'm not prepared to be CEO. I understand finance, but I don't understand being the CEO role. And he was told that this is feedback for you, that you're fantastic also as a people's person, and we believe you'll do a great job also as CEO. But the good thing that Mr. CFO did before he became CEO is he hired a coach like me and also me to train him through 5 things that make up for a good CEO. But I'm saying that models are changing overnight. If this is happening in India, it's happening that much more globally. It's happening that much more in your own regions, that all organizations are reshaping their models more than ever before. And with all of this going on then, we go out there and we conduct this research across close to about 100 clients of ours. I've listed some of them here. So you can see these are varied industry. There are companies here from retail, e-commerce, consumer durables, pharmaceuticals, IT, ITES, media, automobile, banking, BFSI per se, FMCG. There are also embassies here, hospitality here. So literally from across the board. We conducted this research, which now is the 2nd year running. And we asked about 150,000 employees of these organizations from across the globe, especially the ones who are in the talent functions, that what do you see 21-22 to shape up for various professions? Amongst those professions, we also asked this question for accounting professionals, including CAs, including bookkeeping experts, including finance experts. And for the year 21-22, skill expectation, the top 10 skills, other than your domain and functional skills, because see, your domain and functional skills you already know. But other than your domain and functional skills, which means largely soft skills and behavioral skills, this is what in 21-22 is expected out of your community as well. These are the top 10. Now, while you make a screenshot of this and see where you stand vis-a-vis these 10, do understand that I'm somebody who's used to speaking in formats where I speak for 3 hours straight. So for me to talk for 20, 25 minutes, I really have to choose what it is that I'm going to talk about. So I've chosen this one base skill to talk to you about today, which I think holds you in good stead with a majority of these top 10 expectations. So we're going to talk about that one skill today, which lends itself very nicely to about 7 out of 10 of these expectations that are right up here. To get us started on that one skill, here's a short story. That's 3 generations of Kalras standing right there in that picture. Happier times when travel was still allowed. This is 2018 at a beautiful beach town in Sri Lanka. Standing on the extreme left with the cap on is me. Pre-COVID times, pre-lockdown times, I was fitter and slimmer. And that, of course, is my son with the hat on. And in the Hawaiian shirt is my father. So that's 3 generations of Kalra right there. My father and my son share a very special bond, a bond that I'm very envious of. Because the way my father dotes on my son, I didn't see even 1/10 of that while I was growing up. My father is, if you were to ask me, what's the best way of describing his relationship with me in the first 10, 12 years of my life? If you've done your growing up in India, you know he was typically what a middle-class father is. Tough love is what comes to mind. Lots of tough love. So I used to be woken up at the age of 7 on a Sunday at 6 o'clock in the morning, and he used to say, "Get up, Kalra." I'd be like, "What do you want from me at this time in the morning?" He'd say, "Now you'll clean the car because you need to learn to fend for yourself." So I'd clean the car, I'll polish shoes. Back in the day, if you remember, in India, there used to be a car called the Ambassador. And after the Ambassador, so Ambassador was a big car, yeah? And after the Ambassador, the other car that became popular with the middle-class Indians was called Maruti 800. Maruti 800 was much smaller. The day my father decided to buy the Maruti 800, I was the happiest boy on the planet. Not because he was buying a new car, but because the surface area of a Maruti 800 is much lesser than the Ambassador. So I had to every Sunday morning spend lesser time cleaning the car. So if mother was about soft and sentiment, father was about hard love. And, you know, my association with him, I remember, mostly was about you got bad marks, parents-teacher meeting. So wherever pulling up was required, the tough father would come in. So I really thought for the first about 7, 8, 10 years of my life that that's what a father is, the tough one. And then there came a time when I woke up one morning. My mother said, "You have to go to school." I said, "No, I can't go to school. I've got a stomach ache." She said, "I've heard that every other day." I said, "No, this time I genuinely have a stomach ache." I was crying. I was taken to the doctor. The doctor said his appendix is about to burst. He needs to undergo surgery now. My mother had taken me to the hospital. My father had gone to office. Back then, there used to be no mobile phones. I don't know how they communicated. But by the time my father reached the hospital, they were taking me from pre-surgery to surgery. Now, when a 8, 9-year-old boy is going from pre-surgery to surgery, he should be shivering and crying. But when I saw my father, I had a big smile on my face. I had a big smile on my face because my father was crying. And the first thing that occurred to me is that, the man has a heart. Dil hai iske paas. The man has a heart. He's not as tough as he seems to be. He was crying, and the tears in his eyes for the first time made me realize that my father truly loves me. And I see that happening just so often with leaders in the corporate sector. We believe that we gotta be tough. You ask, "Are you showing enough empathy and emotion?" You say, "Yes, I am." But you don't ever smile. Do you truly know what your subordinate or your colleague feels about you? Do you express enough? Because it's not about what you feel, it's also about what you show. Do you show enough? Because you're perceived for your actions, not for your feelings. Do your actions show your empathy? Do your actions show your sentiment? My father's did not. I don't know when he learned to show them, but I can see it in action when he is interacting with his grandson. And now, of course, every now and then, when I remind him of how I was brought up, he does shed a tear. But I just wish that the learning here for all of us involved is that expressions have power. You could be on the interview table. You could be delivering the annual presentation or the quarterly presentation to the board. You could be conducting an interview where you are the interviewer. But what is expected from all of us is a little bit more expression. And chances are, very often, we don't show that expression enough. We may feel it, but we may not show it. That's one. Second, I just finished doing a one-on-one coaching assignment with the CFO of a fairly large alcoholic beverage company, fairly large, one of the top 3 in the world. And what I was asked to coach him on is emotional intelligence. And when I asked him, does he need coaching on emotional intelligence? He said, of course not. I said, can we take a feedback from your stakeholders? We identified 6 stakeholders: a subordinate, a peer, an immediate higher level, a customer, a vendor, and one person from within friends and family. And from between the 6 of them, when we asked them 10 questions, 8 of them worked against what would be called high levels of emotional intelligence. And that's why I keep reminding people that if you were to ask me, what is that one thing that all of us can do much better with today? I'd say our ability to become personal brands. You'd say, I know that. You'd all say, we know that. But here's the one big element of being a personal brand that a lot of us forget. You're not a brand till the time you make a two-way connection happen between what you think you are and what others think you are. Because your brand truly is what happens in the middle of what you think of yourself and what others think of you. Often at times, we only go with what we think of ourselves. The moment you find out what others think of you, you're bound to identify at least one blind spot, which, believe you me, may just be the difference between where you are today and the 10x growth that we all want. One feedback, which you may not be aware of, which may be your blind spot, if you're open to it and you get the right feedback at the right time, can change things forever. And that's what a good personal brand is able to do. A personal brand is acutely aware of how he or she is perceived. And not only are they aware, they act upon it. Case in point. Who's the gentleman here? Anybody? You could put it on chat, or you could just unmute yourself and say it out loud as well.
Bill Gates.
Who's the gent here? Yeah, absolutely. I wish, Mahesh, I wish this was me. CM Mahesh says you, everybody else says Gates. I'll go with Gates. Good joke there, CM Mahesh. Yes, of course, Bill Gates. I come from the background where my first job was in PR. I worked with one of the biggest PR agencies in India, which is called Perfect Relations. We used to handle the Microsoft account. And one of the first few stories we heard was why Bill Gates postponed a visit of his to come to India for a particular launch. And we realized that he's one person who takes feedback very seriously right from the word go. This is how he apparently appeared for his first public meeting with shareholders. And apparently on NASDAQ, the stock plummeted like this. Because everybody said, this is Bill Gates? Basis that feedback, of course, emerged the avatar of Bill Gates that we know better. But that's what sometimes feedback does for you. Makes you realize what the expectation of your stakeholders is from you. My only point here, and after this very quickly, I will move to a Q&A where you can ask me, you can quiz me more on how this personal brand and expression works. But my only point here is this one baseline skill of expression and personal branding lends itself, if you see, to 7 out of the top 10 asks out of every CA today. Your personal branding and power of expression adds to your emotional intelligence, becomes actually 1 out of the 4 quadrants of emotional intelligence. It adds to you being a charismatic leader. We all tell stories from data every day. Your ability to add expression to data is data storytelling, which is one of the top 10 asks, not just from CAs, but from all of us today. You could be empathetic, but empathy in action is what is required. Influencing skills, or Simon Sinek's power to start with why, is all about your ability to let the other person know, I hear you, I am with you. And that is one large part of influencing skills. Executive presence, I feel underdressed today. All of you look super sharp in your suits and jackets and dimples in your ties. That's one part of expression too, and an important one. And I see the moment I talk about ties, a lot of you are, looking at your stiff collars if they're all right. Body language. You can study it, you can express with it. Last but not the least, your ability to mentor and coach is a lot to do with expression too. How expressive and communicative you are. Even while you're listening, how actively you listen is a lot to do with actions. So if you look at it, a good 7 out of 10 points that are expected out of us today fall within the purview of personal branding and expression. So my suggestion that get that feedback today, candid feedback, if need be anonymous feedback, and see what are those blind spots, work on them, because that's how personal brands get sharper. With that, I rest my case. I may have overshot my time, but I wanted to keep a few minutes of Q&A. If we still have that, I'd like to hear from you. What are some of your thoughts on what I've spoken about? Also, do keep in touch. Fairly active on Instagram. Add me there if you're on Instagram. Do connect on LinkedIn and do keep in touch, because I truly believe that in this networked world, although it's not showed up in the top 10 skills, but networking by itself is a huge asset today. On that note, rest my case. I'm leaving you with this slide, which could become the point of reference for the questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Viraj. Let's straight away jump into the questions asked by members. The first question is by Suresh Panwar. Out of 7 personal brands which you have highlighted, which one of this you will do emphasize for the CAs?
You're saying out of the 7 skills which are highlighted in blue, which one is most priority for CAs? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I would say data storytelling. Often a time in a quarterly meeting, I would see numbers being presented as pivot tables and Excel sheets. But that one cube getting highlighted, that one rectangle one box getting highlighted, and your ability to inflict sentiment into that one box can make all the difference. So data storytelling for me is a huge one for the CA community.
Okay, I think the same question, it's something similar. We have another question by Kunju Mohammed. He has asked, do you think a little acting is essential in your professional performance?
A little acting?
Acting, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you may not want to be as theatrical as I am. Yeah, but a little bit definitely helps. Call it infliction, call it expression, call it executive presence, call it whatever you may. But yes, especially when you stand up and talk in front of 50 people or 20 people or even 10 people, some amount of expression, some amount of magnification, some amount of projection definitely helps.
Another question by Samir Joshi. Can a personal brand be different in different culture?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, a personal brand emerges from the culture that you want to influence, which means that in case of Bill Gates, he went from looking like a hippie to looking more corporate and maybe initially like a Wall Street professional in the suit and the tie. On the other hand, Gandhi came back to India and got rid of the suit and tie. So depending on the situation you're in, I keep saying it's different strokes for different folks. So at different points in time, you would need a different aspect of your personal brand to shine. And more often than otherwise, it'll come from the culture that you're influencing and the culture and values that you want to be known for. Absolutely.
Thank you, Viraj. We are getting very good feedbacks now. We have more questions as well, but in the interest of time, let's move to the next session. But we really appreciate your time. And,
absolutely. Thanks so much for your time, everyone. And I'm looking forward to the other speakers. Over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Viraj. I mean, it was absolutely an eye-opener session. I mean, I never thought of the points, the elements that you suggested for personal branding. And probably even if we pick up one or two out of it, that would be a game changer for individual. And I think a lot of members have questions. I would request them to connect personally to Viraj on those questions, and he will be happy to respond to it. Thank you again for this wonderful session of yours, Viraj. And probably we didn't did justice by allotting only 30 minutes to your session. Maybe next time we will have a full 2-hour session with you to have an elaborate discussion on all these points. Thank you.
I look forward to that. Thank you for this opportunity.
Over to you, Shafiq.
Thank you, Shafiq. I'm CA Shafiq Nilal, your social team member. Today, it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce our next speaker of the day, my friend, Dr. Sangeet Ibrahim, who hails from my hometown, Talasheri. I have so much to talk about Sangeet, but I have only a minute to introduce him. If I'm asked to say one sentence about Sangeet, I would say, you may forget what he says, but you will never forget his smiling face and pleasing personality. Hope you get what I say, and I'm sure you would agree with what I say after this session. Dr. Sangeet Ibrahim serves as the VP, Head of Learning and Development of UAE's largest bank. He also serves as the team leader of the Dubai Human Development Award constituted by the government of Dubai. Sangeet is a best-selling author and TEDx speaker who has a PhD in employee engagement and over 12 internationally reputed accreditations. He has won several awards, including the prestigious Sheikh Hamdan Award for the most distinguished family. See, the point to be noted here is the award is not just for himself, it's for the whole family. I mean, while he growing, he made sure that his family also grows along with him. He expressed the purpose of his life as Mission Inspire 1 Million. Friends, today he's going to talk about MBTI tool and how to unleash your potential with MBTI. Over to you, Dr. Sangeet.
Thank you, Shafiq. That was a mellifluous introduction. I'll have to keep smiling all the time now. It's a pleasure to meet you again, along with your peers, and thanks a lot for the opportunity to the other Shafiq as well. Invited me for this session. Brother Nasser and Viraj, absolutely enjoyed your sessions, and I'm really looking forward to John's discourse as well. Hope and pray God Almighty protect all of us from the scourge of what's happening and our loved ones back home. Brothers and sisters, I need to be on a intense rush mode because I have only 25 to. I plan to extend it by 5-6 minutes and go on till the MC starts rolling his eyes. Yeah. So this is it's a beautiful tool called the MBTI that I wanted to introduce. Some of you might have come across this tool. I've always been in love with psychometric tools, MBTI in particular, because it's quite simple and it provides a lot of very practical insights that we can embrace and use to develop ourselves. Absolutely loved the quotes that were served in the earlier sessions. What got us till here will not take us further. I absolutely love Marshall Goldsmith and his approaches to coaching. But I want to tweak that quote a little bit and say, we didn't come here till here to only come till here. So the human race will endure. The human race will fall and still stand up. We might buckle, we might falter, but when the dust settles, we will stand tall and we will go together. Yeah, so we didn't come here to only come here. So tributes to all the fighters who are really fighting to save humanity. We shall endure, and holding hands, we shall defeat this scourge and get ahead. Speaking about MBTI, let me immediately, without much ado, share the screen. Shafiq, are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
You can. Okay. So my objective for the next 25 minutes is to give every one of you at least 3 or 4 crisp and clear areas for improvement, things that you can really embrace and start working on, so that each one of us can advance faster towards our goals, using our strengths and probably making our areas for improvement irrelevant. Now, what is MBTI? Let me sell the tool to you. First, it's used worldwide. 100% of Fortune 500 companies use it. More than 2 million people every year, translated to 30 plus languages. I'm fond of Hogan, SDI, Profile XT, GLOF, but this remains my favorite, and you'll know why. It's very simple, very practical. My only request is I'll share these slides also with the organizers. Once you get back home, please share the contents with your loved ones so that you can learn more about it and they can also enjoy from the experience. Yeah. So what I want to do in the next 20 minutes, 22 minutes or so is to change your names. I'm going to change John's name. I'm going to change Shafiq's name. I'm going to change Neeraj's name. And you'll all change your names to a 4-letter code. Okay, not all 4-letter words are bad. This is going to be a good 4-letter word. So we'll try to change your names into a 4-letter code. Now, where are you going to get these 4 letters from? The first one will either be an E or an I. So you'll have to say, am I going to be an E or am I an I, based on the description that I'll give. Okay, so you'll have to choose between these 2 letters. The second one is, are you an S or an N? Okay, so you'll have to choose. So you could become an ES or an IS or an EN. The third one, are you a T or an F? And the fourth one, are you a J or a P? Now, what do these stand for? E and I looks at where do you get your energy from? Okay, or how you interact with the external world. S and N, extremely relevant, particularly for CAs. How do you process information? Because that's your core skill, right? You take in information, you make sense of it, you tell stories with it, you convince people, you catch frauds, you audit. So it's extremely important, S and N. Third, how do you take decisions? Are you a T or an F? And the fourth one, how do you work on a day-to-day basis? Are you a J or a P? So the whole objective is, I can see a Neeraj walking back to his chair. We're going to change Neeraj's name. It's going to be an ENFP or an ISTJ or whatever, and everyone else in the room. Okay, so it's a very simple quest. We are on a name-changing quest within the next 20-25 minutes. Now, let me start with the first one. Are you an E or are you an I? Okay, please be with me as I explain what an E is and what an I is. We're looking at extroversion and introversion in terms of how you interact with the external world. Let's look at the extrovert. Okay, you're absolutely in love with the outer world of people and events. So you're sitting in your office and you hear a commotion outside. You really want to go out and mingle. You've had a long, hard, arduous day, but instead of sitting at home, you want to go to the global village or you want to go to a party. You get energized when you are with people. Okay, you love talking. So you're weak and tired and guests come home and you're like, wow, I recharge. Okay, That's when you're an extrovert. You like talking to new people. So you walk into the lift and there's this one new guy that you don't know and you're itching, you know. You get a wrong number, somebody calls you and you still talk for 10 minutes. Of course, I'm talking about extremes, yeah, but I think I have to do that to send the point home. You're friendly, you're quite warm, you're verbally skilled, you love talking and easy to know. Everybody knows everything about you. You're an open book. You nick yourself while shaving, people know about it. You had a cold last week, people know about it. People know the name of your cat, people know where your family members are, people know your dreams, your aspirations, your fears. An open book. And finally, you need to give strokes and you also want to get strokes. Strokes in psychological parlance means feedback. So exactly what Neeraj said, these people love to express themselves and these people want to get feedback. So you walk into an office with a nice tie, they want people to say, hey, nice tie. Or someone gives a good presentation, you'll say, good presentation, or you could have improved it. You really do not want to keep things inside. You want to express yourself. So my question is, how many of you could call yourself a typical E? Before you decide, let's look at the world of I's. In a world of thoughts and reflections. So you absolutely love to sit, probably read a book, think. If you hear a commotion outside the office, you might close the office door slowly. Yeah, because you want to be by yourself, you want your privacy. You tend to dislike frequent interruptions. So my wife is an introvert. So suppose she's watching something or working and I go to her and say, anniversary gift, a diamond ring, she'll say, not now. Don't interrupt me now. I want my space. Okay. They prefer to interact with few friends that they know very well. And these are people who like to think while they are in the shower, think while they're driving. So whatever comes out of their mouth is well rehearsed because they love to think and rethink and make sure that what comes out is solid. Low on strokes. They don't really give feedback quite often. So imagine the husband is an introvert and the wife has made good biryani or maybe good soup. Okay. And she has served it, and the wife is an extrovert and the husband is drinking one spoon after the other. Okay. Is he appreciating? Yes, he's appreciating. You know where he's appreciating? He's appreciating within himself because he thinks words are cheap. So he's thinking, oh, the soup was very nice, much better than what my mother has even made. And what is the wife expecting? Man, mention it, say it. I want to hear it. Yeah. So that's a typical clash between an E and an I. But I's prefer to have it inside, within, quiet, reflect, think. As a coach, a lot of parents tell me my child is quite introverted, and I tell them, you're lucky, you're gifted. And they say, why? Because some of the world's best designers, thinkers, scientists, architects, okay, philosophers are introverts, while the extroverts are running around talking and building relationships. These are the people who are sitting and thinking and planning. Yeah. So being an introvert is never a liability or a limitation. It can really be an amazing strength. Now, my question to you guys is, in the chat box, what do you think you are? Can I get your responses? If you think you are an E, okay, type E. If you're an I would love to see I's typed in the chat box. Where is the chat box? I can only see the Q&A here. Okay, maybe more, right? Yeah. I'm getting a lot of I's coming up. Absolutely. And that's what I expected. You're all CAs, right? You're people who should concentrate, work on data, keep secrets, okay, think and analyze. Yeah. So probably 60% I's and the rest are E's, which is in line with what CAs should be. My only point is, guys, when you reach leadership positions or when you have to talk to customers, you need to be a little more expressive, a little more expressive. So that's an area for improvement for yourself. Don't just think, okay? You need to express yourself. So executive presence, voicing your opinions, being assertive, all that matters. So that's an area where you could develop, yeah? Now, quick look at improvement areas where you could improve. What I've done is, from my coaching experience, these are the typical negative feedback that I receive about ease. So all of you who said that you are ease, okay, please bear with me. Yeah, this is about you guys. Meetings after meetings. This guy cannot just send an email and finish stuff off. Why does he call for a meeting? Why does he pick the phone and call? You know, send an email and finish it off. This is a typical complaint. You know, you talk too much. Cannot keep secrets. So I mentioned something to this guy and then he's going all over, not intentional, but E's tends to express themselves a lot and sometimes it slips out. Too dramatic, especially when they're angry, pounding the table and shouting and screaming and a lot of emotional atyachar. Needs appreciation even for trivial achievements. Okay? I've done something probably not that great, but I still would want people to say, amazing, you're the best performer, you've done a wonderful job. Say something and do something else. Now, this is a typical complaint about E's because usually we talk all the time and we do not think. So sometimes you talk and that's when you say, oh my God, that's not the way I should have expressed it. So you say something and you do something else. Feedback about I's typically unsocial, moody. These are the typical complaints. Yeah. Enigma, we really do not know what you want. What do you want to eat? Where do you want to go out? What do you want? Please express it. Unless you say it, do not ask the whole world to guess it. Withdraws in conflict. Now this happened. I come from a family of E's, and for us, when there's a conflict, there's a lot of drama at home. Dad and mom and me. I get married. My wife is an I. The first time we had an argument, she clams up, and I'm like, "What's happening? I'm not used to this." Okay, come on, let's talk about it. No, please, I don't want to talk about it. Give me time. Said, give you time. This is torturous. Let's bring it all out on the table, shout, scream, fight, and complete it. No. She did this silent treatment for 2 to 3 days. That's when I realized how lethal introverts could be. Yeah. This was before my MBTI days. Decides without discussing. Now, this is a complaint a lot of MBTI leaders have. Why are you deciding? Because first of all, when you think in the shower, driving, you've really thought about it. You're sure what has to be done. But the problem is you might not call for a meeting and discuss it. So people are thinking, where did this come from? Yeah, that might be actually the best plan. But because you don't involve people, that becomes a liability. And another complaint about ICE, particularly as leaders, please express, please appreciate, please give feedback. Don't just wait for the annual appraisal at the end of the year to give in your comments. Find opportunities to call people, talk to them, and give feedback. The best example I have for managers is, if you've seen football coaches and what they do, Ronaldo doesn't get feedback once a year, right? The coach is standing right next, near the line and saying, flaying his hands and shouting. That's the way managers should be giving feedback and appreciation. So that's a feedback for I. Would like to keep the floor open for a minute. Any E's who would like to talk about the I's, or any I's who would like to talk about E's? You can unmute yourself. I'm sure the I's won't speak, but at least expecting the E's to speak. E's in the room. Any complaint against I's or any feedback for I's? I can see the messages. Both are necessary as for the balance in the environment. Both depending on circumstances. Yeah, that's a brilliant point. In fact, I would like to disagree. Your personality remains the same. So if you're still confused as to am I an E or an I, ask yourself these two questions. What was I when I was a student? Probably your heydays in the hostel or college, when you didn't have a lot of restrictions around. Or suppose you're on a holiday now, no bosses, no emails, no deadlines. How do you behave? Would you still want to curl in a corner with a book, or would you want to go out? So that's the real you. When you change as per situations, that's not your personality changing. We call it learned behavior. And if you always keep changing, that stresses you. So it's extremely important to know what the true you are. Okay. As our earlier speaker said, sometimes it's good to act. Yeah. But then if you always keep acting, you become a fake, a phony, and you also get too stressed. So it's important to revert back to your original position. And you need to know what the original position is. If no more feedback, or if nobody wants to open up, let's go to the next part. If you've decided what your code is, are you an E or an I? Let's go to the next one. Are you an S or an N? Okay. Here we're talking about the way in which you process information. Are you an S or an N? If you're an S, you tend to give and take specific instructions. If I ask you how to go to Dubai Mall from here, so you'll tell me Go out after 100 meters, take right. There'll be a board. From that board, turn left. 200 meters, there'll be a roundabout. Very specific. If I ask you what time should we go out, you'll say 1:30. Okay. This is how the S's are. You like procedures, you like routines. My wife, again, is an S. So if you walk into my house at the middle of the night and open the shoe rack, you'll see structure, consistency, order. Everything has to be in its place and nothing should move from the place. Okay. And I keep telling her, please, home should not be like home center. Home, cushions could be on the floor and shoes can be in a different room every night. That's my rule. But structure, order, consistency. If you go to an S and you open the cupboard of the S, you'll see a masterpiece. The car dash will be a masterpiece. Yeah, this is a typical S. Tends to be critical. Why are they critical? Because for them, everything should be in its place. They have absolute structure. So anything that goes out of structure, they tend to sort of disagree. My wife goes to Carrefour, and in Carrefour, sometimes at the middle of the aisle, you'll have a kind of container with shoes thrown all around. What she wants to do is arrange those shoes. Yeah, that's a typical S. Yeah, and they prefer status quo over change. Why? Because they value status quo. They value structure and order. That's a typical S. Let's look at the world of N's. If you ask an N, which way is Dubai Mall? He'll say, you go out and, go, go to the left or go to the right. Yeah. Maybe a totally wrong direction. If you ask an N, what time should we have a meeting? We'll have it after lunch. Now, what is after lunch? Good example, good way to guess is, if an S gets a gift wrapped box, how do you think the S is going to open it? Slowly, carefully, as if the wrapper will get hurt. Okay. How will an N open it? Tear and bite and, khalas, then the wrapper or the box will not be seen. That's a typical N. Yeah. What they love to do is change things, new routes, new food, new ways of dressing. Everything is new because they don't really value the existing structure. It's all about rip and replace and try something new. May find details boring. So if you have an N boss, if you go to the N boss with a 100-page report, he'll say, no, give me a 1-page executive summary. But if you go to an S boss with a 100-page report, he'll leaf through it and say on the 5th page, there is a spelling mistake. Or maybe the font is wrong. You're like, give me a break. Yeah, this is a typical S. For an N, it's results over relationships. I want to somehow get things done. But for an S, no. During weekends, I sometimes help my wife, when the maid is not there, to fold the clothes and clean the plates. And what am I expecting from her? Sangeet, you are the best husband ever. You know what she does? She comes and audits all the work I've done, and then she will redo everything. And she'll tell me, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. That's a typical S. Okay. So now what I want you to do is, in the chat box, please chat. Are you an S or are you an N? Would love to get your responses. Surprising, a lot of N's. I wasn't expecting that in a room full of chartered accountants. Or maybe did I glamorize N so much? Marina, thank you. Okay. Vishal says is intuitive. Wife is just and trying to be. guys, one quick feedback for you. In today's VUCA world, we don't have a choice. Okay, because we're talking about design thinking, we're talking about being agile. So we cannot wait for structure and consistency and order. We cannot rely on status quo. We need to change. So in today's world, N's seem to have an upper edge, particularly in leadership positions. But every good N needs to have a good S right below him or her to provide that order and structure. So if you look at the best leadership pair, you'll have the CEO who's an N and a COO who's an S. Okay, or a deputy CEO who's an S. That's a remarkable order that we have. Quick look at the feedback for the S's and the N's. This is what N's have to say about S's. Oh my God, don't pick on these small things, please. No one will die. These are not mistakes. There are mistakes and there are small omissions, This is a typical example. Please don't micromanage. Please don't be so inflexible and stick to the routine. Yeah. And please don't be a perfectionist. And for the ends, these are the feedback that we typically give. Give us more clarity. Don't make us guess. If your boss is a typical N, sometimes you think it's nice, but you won't get clarity. He won't tell you exactly what he wants. He won't tell you how you want it. He won't tell you the steps, and you will be left to guess. Okay, please do things the right way, not in any way. Don't ignore the small issues. They're also important. Don't delegate complex things to me. If you have an N boss, what he'll do is he'll do all the nice fancy stuff, and all the irritating work he'll give to you. And please don't start projects and abandon them. Start and be consistent as well. Shafiq, one of the Shafiqs, could you tell me how much time I have?
10 more minutes.
10 more minutes. Brilliant. Thank you. So we're keeping perfect time. Let's go to, so I hope you've made your choice. I hope you've decided whether you are an S or an N. Let's look at the third point. How do you make decisions? Are you a thinker or are you a feeler? Okay. So these are people who focus on facts and logic and not emotions. So suppose you get a job offer from Qatar or Bahrain. Okay. If you're a T, you're immediately looking at what's my salary going to be? What are the benefits? Is the organization a big brand? Okay. What are my retirement benefits to be? You will not look at, oh my God, I've been in the UAE for 20 years. My kids have friends here. You know, I'm so connected to the place. It's all about facts and logic. Okay. You focus more on fairness over relationships. Extremely important. If you're a T, you wouldn't have any problem tell your parents, why did I get 1 chocolate and my brother got 2? It's not about, you know, will he feel bad or anything. It's all about what is right should be done. So you have no problem challenging people if you see something that is not fair. You might not include impacts of people in their decision making. It's all about results, productivity, numbers. It's not about, oh, so weak. Let me give him more time. He is weak. You know, you don't get into that. You like being right more than being liked. Beautiful point. I want to be right. I don't care whether you like me or not. Or it's not that I don't care. What I care more is whether I'm right or wrong. And you don't mind handling difficult situations. If you have to terminate a staff member, if you have to reduce somebody's salary, if you have to make somebody redundant, if you have to close a business unit, I have to do it. Here are the numbers. If we don't do it, the whole company will sink. That's a typical. Let's look at an F. What matters? This is like a typical Karan Johar movie. Yeah. Sorry for those who are not from India, but the T is typical like a Ram Gopal Verma movie. Very, very, very realistic. Yeah. F was more like you'll see maple leaves floating around, Shah Rukh Khan with a violin standing behind. Relationships in harmony. Good decision is when everybody is happy. So let's not make rewards performance based. Let's give everybody a 5% increase. This is a typical F decision. Okay, let us not fire anybody. Let us reduce salaries across the board. Very careful not to hurt anybody. And everything is personal for these people. If after my session, if I ask you for feedback and if Neeraj says, Sangeet, you rushed through the modules a little bit, immediately my point is going to be, oh, Neeraj didn't like me. Or Neeraj has an issue with me. Everything is personal. So now, guys, boldly, please, very boldly, type out your responses. Are you a T or are you an F when it comes to decision making? Again, a lot of T's coming up. Yes, 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 yes. F's too. Beautiful. Guys, are you in the right profession? Yeah. I want to share with you 2 examples. You know, the problem is when you have a board which is completely, I mean, all are T's, then the problem is your decisions will always tend to focus on performance and process. You might not really consider people in your decision making. I was assessing the Jumeirah group 1 year for the Dubai Quality Award. And I heard from the head, this was in 2007-8 during the crisis. They decided to terminate people. The chief human resources officer was an absolute F. So you know what he did? His first decision was, we're going to only terminate managers. We will not terminate staff members, we'll terminate managers because managers took the wrong decision. And before letting them off, he brought in recruiters from the UK and he conducted a career fair within the office. Okay, and almost 38 or 40% of them were absorbed from Jumeirah itself before being let off. That's a typical F. Another example of an F, I don't want to mention the company. An employee who didn't have insurance benefits, an employee was diagnosed with cancer. And because of cancer, he was not able to perform. And if he was terminated or if he had to leave, he will not get the insurance. So everybody in the organization decided to donate annual leave, paid annual leave to this employee. This happened in Dubai. Okay. So when these paid annual leaves were put together, this person was able to be on the company payrolls for around another 1.5 more years, get insurance and get cured as well. So this is a typical example of Fs. So let's not downgrade Fs. You need Fs, but if everybody in the board is an F, I'm not quite sure whether the company will stay afloat. Yeah. So that's a decision we need to take. Typical complaints about Ts: too harsh and inconsiderate. Please, rules are important, but also consider human needs. Relationships are more important than anything. So these are complaints about Ts. I can give you 2 examples. My son comes home after playing soccer, faces all red. Okay. And he says, Baba, I can't do homework. For me, I'm like, it's okay. Take a shower and go to sleep. But my wife says, didn't you know that you had homework before going? If you don't do your homework, who is going to do it for you? So please do it. Or I go with my little daughter and she picks up a toy at Hamleys. For me, I'm like, let me pay. But for her is, why do you need the toy now? What did you do to deserve it? So it's all about logic and reasoning, yeah, more than the emotions of people. Complaints about Fs: you cannot say no. You're a people pleaser. These are complaints. Okay, I'm not qualifying these. This is the feedback that normal Fs get. Why do you get personal? You're very impractical. We're talking about truth and don't get personal. Finally, let me talk about the judging and the perceiving. This is very easy to understand. Are you a J or are you a P? A J is a person who likes to make lists. You're planning to go for a holiday after 2 months, you put a list. There are lists all over. My wife makes lists everywhere. They're all over. And when she cuts something from the list, you can see that look on her face. It's like she's conquered Mount Everest. Yeah. They do not like surprises. I didn't plan for it. Likes to get things settled. So if your Emirates ID is expiring 2 weeks later, you're going to do it now. By the time the car fuel tank is halfway done, you go and fill the car. Okay. And you like to handle things before deadlines and complete everything in order. Now let's look at the world of the P's, the perceiving. They keep moving things, oh, I've got time till next week. I've got time till tomorrow. I've got time till day after. Afternoon. I've got 2 more hours. And they get that energy just before the last minute. They stay night out, finish, 2 to 3 night outs, and they complete things. Okay. So this is typical last minute stuff. And they love to respond to changing situations. Our flight is delayed. That's absolutely okay. It rains during our party. It's absolutely okay. Loves to explore new food, new routes, likes flexibility, and always rushes to complete things at the last moment. All the J's in the room who think that that's completely good for you, in today's VUCA world, you have a liability because you really do not know what's going to happen next. So if you've done your strategic planning and if you've done your forecasting and everything, unfortunately, everything can go kaput. So this is why in today's world, the P's are very much in demand. People who say, oh, really? That plan didn't work? No problem. Let's go to another. Let's try something else. For the J's, they approach life as if, they've decided which roads to take to go to office. For P's, it's like following the GPS. This road is busy. Let's go to another road. So being a P nowadays has got absolute strengths as well. Can I see in your chat box whether you're a J or a P? Again, those who say middle of J and P, the question to ask is, if you didn't have any restrictions, if you're on a holiday, how would you behave? Would you still get up and make your lists, or would you be so cool and casual? For me on a holiday, it's like, a cup of coffee, the newspaper, and sitting on the veranda of the house and watching it rain. No plans, nothing. I'm a typical P. So that's it. What I want you guys to do is get your codes done. Am I an E or an I? Am I an S and an N? Am I a T and an F? And am I a J and a P? Okay. Once you get your code, this would be my last slide. The typical feedback about Jace is Jace cannot relax, too bossy, too predictable, not cool. The feedback about Peace is, oh, too lazy, last minute, not dependable, takes everything light, likes too much of flexibility, not prudent, and they stress you out because they keep everything till the last moment. My last slide for you are improvement tips, significant improvement tips, which can make a huge difference in your lives. So from a coaching perspective, knowing and doing are very different. Yeah. Otherwise, nobody would have taught us there was no need to teach us how to wash our hands when we had the crisis. All of us know we should not text while driving, but many of us text while driving. All of us know that we should not eat more than what we do right now, but many of us eat. That's why I want to join in your weight loss program. Yeah, quite interesting. Many of us know we should exercise more, but we don't do. So this is a beautiful technique introduced by Marshall Goldsmith, where you remind yourself every day. Reminders are important. Otherwise, you get caught in your regular flow. Did I do my best today too? So you need to have a piece of paper in which you write the sentence, did I do my best today too? And then whatever reminders are there, write it down. And every single day, take a look at that paper. Trust me, when you keep looking at that paper every single day and evaluating yourself, over time, you will start adapting to these behaviors. You'll start embracing these new behaviors. So for the E's, it is, did I do my best today to think before I spoke and reacted? All the E's in the room. Ponder on a daily basis. Did I do my best today to think before I spoke and reacted? For the I's, did I do my best today to seek opinions from my followers? Take feedback from my people and appreciate others. This can change your life as leaders, yeah? Because the I's really tend to go slow on feedback and appreciation. For the S's in the room, did I do my best today to be flexible and be softer when holding others accountable? Sometimes they focus so much on accuracy, crossing the T's and the I's, that they speak disrespectfully to people. Hence, did I do my best today to pay attention to the relevant details and follow the due processes, not just do things somehow? To the T's, did I do my best today to focus on relationships and not results alone? For the F's, did I do my best today to avoid taking things personally and having difficult conversations? If somebody in the room is not, in your team is not performing, don't let it pass. Have that difficult conversation. To the J's, did I do my best today to live and not just be productive? Did I do my best today to be agile? And for the P's, did I do my best today to remind myself of the deadlines and do what it takes? All the P's in the room, guys, when you're working in an office environment, there are people to remind you. You've got Microsoft Teams and you've got project management software. You might have secretaries and teammates. But in real life, when there are no deadlines, there are no deadlines for exercising. There are no deadlines for saving enough money. There are no deadlines for, spending quality time with your loved ones. So for the P's in the room, when there are no deadlines, you might really, really push those limits. So be careful. Brothers and sisters, thank you for the opportunity. I hope I didn't encroach my time limits. It was a challenge trying to encapsulate MBTI within 25, 30 minutes. But I really wanted to give you a tool that you can use. You can Google. There are a lot of free resources. You can take free MBTI tests, and there are umpteen resources that can guide you. But if you don't get any of those resources, keep this slide. So there are 4 tips. If you're an ENFP or if you're an ISTJ, you're getting 4 tips on how to make improvement a daily part of your plan and how you can slowly and steadily move faster towards your goal. So thank you, guys. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, and I hope and pray that the session was useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Sangeet. It was a great session, and we are getting very good feedback.
Pleasure.
So in the interest of time, we'll take, in fact, I could see only one question so far in the Q&A section. So the question from Suresh Panwar is, what should be the limit or boundaries for the E's about speaking on business secrets?
Brilliant questions. let me speak not as a psychologist, let me speak as a leader, because I run a team. See, two things. When you speak about business secrets, of course, you cannot divulge information to the general public unless it's available on the public domain. Yeah. So you cannot go and say this particular company, something that's going to affect the stock prices. Yeah. I'm not talking about that context. I'm talking about within a team. Within a team, your team wants clarity. Your team wants you to be transparent. But there are a lot of things that you cannot say, right? Because you are a team member, and at the same time, you're also a representative of the management. So I've seen a lot of leaders who clam up and who say that, no, I cannot share this information with you. I think that's a very disengaging thing, because you need to have two voices. In your team, you represent the management, and in the management, you represent your team. So it's absolutely fine to share whatever you have, provided that information is classified as a secret. But a lot of us try to use this, especially the I's, that is confidential. I don't want to mention. That's extremely disengaging, because people will think that you do not trust them. So anything that can make people trust them, but things that won't rock the boat, something that won't, put handcuffs on you, something that are going to destroy the company's reputation, I think we should be transparent. Okay, because people will find it from the grapevine anyway. So don't clamor, but don't say. A lot of people like to hoard information, saying that I'm a vice president, so there are a lot of things that I know that you should not know. Yeah, I think we need to move away from that space. So it's finally your call, but I think we all should divulge much more than we usually do. That would be my answer. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take one more quick question. That is from Kunju Muhammad. His question is, do you think the review should be a continuous process?
The performance review?
Yes.
Yeah. I believe nowadays a lot of people have got check-ins. It's not the annual performance reviews are an absolute waste. There's no point doing it. I've seen a lot of people getting surprised when the manager says you have not performed well. And I say, Habibi, what's wrong with you? If the guy has not performed well, he should know it in month one. He should know it in the first week, not at the end of the year. He's like, you never told me. That's why performance reviews are such an absolute waste of time. You should be constantly giving feedback and feed forward. Feedback in terms of how the person performed, and feed forward in what is expected. Can I share a personal tool that I use? Guys, try it out, okay? You can try it out at home. What I do is I try with my kids, Aman and Jahan, on a scale of 1 to 10. Can you rate how father was this week? Usually we do it on a Friday. So Aman is more like me. She says, Baba, you were like 10. You're 10, absolutely nice. Jahan is more like my wife. Say, you were 2. Yeah? Then, so the question is not whether you agree on the scores. This is real feedback. And then you ask her, what should I do to increase that number from 2 to 5? You should take me out more often, or you should buy my stuff. Sometimes there are things you cannot do, but you explain. I think the whole objective is that there should not be any secrets. Explain to your people, give feedback to your people, take feedback from people. This should be a continuous process. Not even monthly, not even weekly, probably on a daily basis. Remember the football coach, yeah? The guy who stands near the line and gives feedback all the time. That's how a manager should be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sangeet. It was very useful session and excellent session. Neeraj, I think we should plan another full day session. I mean, 2 hours session with Sangeet.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sangeet. Amazing. Again, it was a wonderful session. And rightly said by Shafiq that we need to have like a workshop for members to decode themselves in terms of MBTI. And just on this annual appraisal thing, what you said, something came to my mind right now. It is something like when we go to our landlord for the annual renewal and we talk about plumbing issues and paint issues so that we can get some reduction. So it is something similar. We have been staying in the house for 1 year. We don't complain about it, but at the time of renewal, we are doing that. It's the same thing like the annual appraisal where we go and talk about that. The manager is talking about that. Yeah, you did something wrong. And probably you won't get much increase or bonus, something like that, maybe. So thank you for the session. It was awesome and absolutely stunning. It's a small token of appreciation from us, from the members of ICI. Thank you so much.
I know you may take over from here.
Thank you, Neeraj. Thank you, Shafiq. I'm Anu Thomas, part of PDC team. Good evening, members and guests, and hope you all are enjoying the amazing session. We have 2 more sessions that will be equally engaging and inspiring. The speaker for the next session is Nauman Mia, who is serving as a Chief Financial Officer at Bait.com, the Middle East #1 job site. Nauman is an associate member of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, a fellow member of Chartered Certified Accountants, and a certified internal auditor. He started off his career with PwC and went on to work for FTSE-listed #1 health and fitness provider in the UK. He holds the prestigious accolade of being the first member to be elected at the ACCA Global Council from UAE. Nauman is also a member of the Global Tax Forum and Accountants in Business Forum at ACCA. He is a founding member of UAE Members Advisory Committee for ACCA and also held its honorary chairman position. Nauman has been nominated for multiple awards such as the Young Accountant of the Year and Chartered Accountant of the Year at the Finance and Accountancy Middle East Awards. Welcome you, Nauman, to the session.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And it's such a pleasure to be on this session today. And what a wonderful day it has been. And what lovely presentation from Dr. Sangeet and from Viraj and Mr. Nasser. So such a pleasure to be on this call today. And at the same time, it's such a difficult position to be in because it's very difficult to up the game from where Dr. Sangeet left. So this is a bit challenging, but I hope I can keep you engaged and I hope I can share some valuable insight into what the job search techniques, which we take for granted, can help you in your search. So I hope you can see my screen right now. If you can just say yes.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. All right, so that's what I'm going to present to you today. Just a quick intro or a part of what we plan to do today is just a quick story about who we are. And then I'm going to talk about the market demand and job search techniques. So for us as Bait.com, we are Middle East #1 job site. We have around 41 million job seekers on our database and about 40,000 employers who search for just people just like yourself. So we are #1 in the Middle East. We have multiple offices across Middle East as well. And we have some great achievements to highlight, like Great Places to Work Award and being part of World Economic Forum and listed among the top 30 companies, global growth companies. There are certain, a lot of achievement. We have been around for 20 years. In fact, from a .com perspective, we can be called a dinosaur. So in terms of market demand, I just wanted to touch upon the fact that things, and we have been listening to this from Mr. Nasser and Viraj picked up and as well. So it's all about change and what we have seen. And this slide is pretty much it speaks for itself. In 1950s, the way people used to work, it was a lot different. And come forward 2019, you had an office which were much more flexible, right? But come 2020, and suddenly all offices are all working from home, and the environment has completely changed. So change, yes, it is inevitable, but as Viraj initially spoke about, that the speed of change that we have seen in the last in this last 12 months, probably it would have taken us 10 or 20 years just to get to where we are today. So what we need, of course, is to make sure that we are actively looking at where we are and making sure that we are part of this change, because work environments and cultures are always changing. And based on the same, the job market demands have changed. So it's no longer what we expected or what we were used to. Things are a lot more different. So just on Bait.com alone, we have around 1 million accountants, right? So having that much or that many accountants is definitely, you would say, it's a lot, of course, and that means that people are looking for jobs as well. Yes, but don't worry about the numbers. But I think this number will actually make you feel better. And the reason being, accountants or the finance professionals are the #2 most demanded role according to employers in the Middle East. So initially, when we started this session and we were having this panel discussion amongst ourselves, I was telling briefing the other panelists that right now the market is really hot. The market, people are really, or employers are currently really actively searching for new position. It is possible that they may not be hiring for a new position, but they may be looking for replacements. So, but in all cases, the market is active. And while the market is active, I want to make sure that you guys, or everyone on this call and even otherwise, have these small job search techniques that can help you, outshine, or that can help you stand out. And the first thing that we do, and when we start the search process, I usually say that it's like you are going to a war, and as a soldier, you need to be prepared. So if you think about yourself as a soldier, you are geared up in that uniform, you have the helmet on, you have the rifle in your hand, you have a small pocket knife in your shoes. So this is how you prepare for the war. And I feel that when you're going for job search, all these small techniques, all these small tools are very important for you to make sure that you win that war. And the first thing that you would start doing is just by looking or inspecting your CV. What you need to make sure that, and I've seen CVs which are 4 or 5 pages long, try and make sure that it is short and concise, right? Why? Because, and in the recruitment world, what they say is your CV will get probably around 30 seconds of recruiters' time before they switch to a new CV or they go through in detail. So probably you will only get about 30 seconds of recruiters to make an impression, right? So what you want to do is put your best foot forward and make sure you make the right impression. So keep it short, concise, but keep it professional. So of course, we are, as an accountant, we understand it is really important to be that professional that you want to be. And just going back to that picture for Bill Gates, you saw him, he went into that boardroom in a different look, and he had to change himself because the share prices went down. And just quoting that from Viraj's presentation. So keep it professional, and that's what is expected of you. And sometimes what we feel or what we fail to do also is that we use the same CV for across all the positions that we apply for. Yes, it is probably the easiest thing to do, but sometimes we need to tailor your CV to the job requirements. And because what you want to make sure you do is get highlighted, and what you need to make sure is that you have the set of skills that they require for you. Yes, it's very easy to click off a button, you can apply, but what's more important is that you get that job, right? So make that effort. That effort will help you get there. So having a short and concise CV, making sure that's professional, trying to make sure that it's tailored to the job, and it's presented well. Sometimes people come and ask me, Naman, do we need a cover letter? So that's a very good question. And probably John Fowles might just say, we don't look at cover letters. But I would say you're going to a war, and that pocket knife, that's cover letter is your pocket knife. You can throw that pocket knife, or you can use that pocket knife whenever it is required, right? So be prepared. And what you need to make sure that your cover letter is not your CV, right? So your cover letter has to be one. It has to talk about you. You need to make sure that it's mindful of the language that you use within it. You just cannot say, I have heard that you're looking for people in human resource department. Probably the better example would be, I am a finance professional with more than 3, 5, 6, or 10 years of experience in the field, and I'm seeking a position for a management role or a finance role. So your cover letter ideally should be talking about something that you don't have on the CV, something that talks about you rather than just your skill set or just what you have done within your prior jobs. So that becomes important. And again, at the same time, you need to make sure that you research and customize. Don't send the same cover letter to every job that you apply, or you ideally need to have or crafted out 2 or 3 cover letters to make sure that while you're targeting for those jobs, you have specific letters, or you are able to talk about that story of yourself with those certain responsibilities that you have taken in prior roles. So it's important that, as I said, CV or cover letter is not a CV, and always include a CTA. CTA is your call to action. It just stresses on the fact that you are requesting them, or you are putting your contact details for immediate access to you. So this is your call to action. This is how you close that covering letter. And again, at the same time, we spoke about the CV, we spoke about the cover letter. Try and understand, or try and figure out what really makes you special. Building your personal brand is the first step to stand out in competitive job market. And that's what Viraj was talking about. He was talking about how to build that brand and what is important in terms of building that brand. So try and understand who you really are. And building that great brand is, you have to be clear and distinctive, credible and believable at the same time. But also you need to make sure that people focus on you, or you leave a memorable impression. So the rule is that you have to really find a unique selling point about yourself and try and identify that. It could be that you have a certain set of skill, or you are working in certain industry. These could be some of those points that you can, or that can help you outshine. But this also helps you understand who you really are, and that goes back to Dr. Sangeet's presentation about feelings, about perceiving, and probably after going through that presentation, I actually felt probably I'm not the best person to being an accountant. I have too many feelings, and I feel too perceiving in terms of my actions. But that's beside the point. What we need to make sure that while you are preparing for your preparing the CV, preparing for cover letters, this is what you will feed in the interview as well. So always be real, and that's important. So one of the other things that usually people come and ask me as well is that should I post my CV, or should I apply online? Should I apply in person, or should I just try and get a reference from someone and help that person, or request that person to push my CV? So the answer here is, well, 82% of employers research a candidate online before even calling them for an interview. So your CV is important, and you should post it, you should email, or you should apply online. But at the same time, while they are reviewing your CV, while they are looking at your responsibilities, your skill sets, your what you have done in the past, 82% of those employees are actually searching you online. So that's even before calling you for an interview. So do one thing which is Google yourself and take a note of the results, right? So that's important. This is how you prepare yourself, or this is how you get the best out to make sure that you have the right techniques or be able to put your best foot forward. So these are some of those important things that you need to do to ensure that you are getting the best or you're putting the best foot forward. So again, the point being that while people search for you online, make sure you don't forget that networking is important. And then goes back to the point which Viraj made, that networking is essential. Why is it essential? One, it obviously helps you build relationships. It helps you build some sort of a brand of your own because people recognize you. And at the same time, sometimes it's much more easier because when you're looking for all these CVs, sometimes these blind CVs, sometimes if people know you, it just helps the decision-making exercise much more simpler, right? So all these are important things. Of course, the being part of networking activities during COVID is a challenge, but I see a lot of people participating in just this webinar today. And that again, you can interact. You already seen us. You have seen Dr. Sangeet, you have met Mr. Nasir and then Viraj as well. So these are all the people who you can network with. So it becomes important. Now, what do you do after you have really applied for that position? The one thing that you really need to do is make sure that you follow up on the correspondence, right? Make sure that at least you show that excitement that you are interested in that job. And that's what you can do by just following up and asking if there has been any movement within that position of your or your CV has moved forward or not. So these are some of those skills that you can use, one in terms of enhancing your CV, in terms of making sure that you have the right kind of cover letter, making sure that your online presence, you understand how do you look online. Does your Facebook account pop up and you have your holiday pictures there or not? These are things that you need to be careful of. And then again, following up, and at the same time, what you should not forget that once you have applied for a job, you will be called. The next step is an interview call, and that's where we saw people asking that, do I need to express myself? Do I need to put some sort of an effort in my body language, or do I need to do some acting? Well, when we said that you need to be real, for sure, but at the same time, you need to understand that you have to make your presence felt, right? And you need to make sure that you are engaging it. It's very difficult to talk to someone who has very little to say, especially once you are sitting in a one-to-one physical session. Probably you have more leverage. Sometimes what is missing is your when you do an online interview, what is missing is your body language. So some of the quick 5 online interview questions that you should be prepared to answer. And these are not any fancy questions. These are the most or generally asked questions in any interview. It's tell me about yourself, right? So that's a very basic question where you can focus on your professional goals. You can show passion and enthusiasm just by describing yourself. And at the same time, things that usually come up as part of the question is, what are your weaknesses? You need to be positive, and I'm pretty sure you have heard that, but have you prepared for it? Have you rehearsed the response? Have you done that exercise in front of mirror where you have responded and found out what have you spoken about? Because what you don't want to do is go in that exam paper and you know what the question, but you don't know the you know which questions will come up, but you don't know the answer, or you haven't prepared well for that answer. So you shouldn't, when you talk about your weakness, you should not be over ambitious, or you should not be, you should not highlight too many weaknesses and figure out how you can make that, how you can overcome that weakness. So again, while they talk about weakness, they talk about strengths, and that's important as well. You need to understand what your core strength and what's the value you are bringing to the organization. And again, this is one question that usually people don't really or find themselves difficult in a difficult position to respond, is how would your friends describe you? And when an employer asks that question, they are definitely not asking about your probably your how you dress, or what's your fashion sense. They want to understand what they feel about you as a person, how you are with them. So these are some of those questions that you really need to be prepared for, and understand that these questions will come up or are very likely to come up. Similarly, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And how confident you are and how you respond is important as well. So to me, these were some of those important questions that you should be prepared for, and how you should engage while, whether you are in a physical interview or an online interview. You need to make sure that these are things that you are prepared for. And at the same time, sometimes what we don't understand is the difference between a online and a offline interview. While we dress up and are very much sitting straight for a physical interview, sometimes we fail, or sometimes we take this too lightly and ignore some of the key facts. One, I mean, being on time, punctuality, whether it's offline or online, is extremely important. Or dressing the part. So 76% of, I mean, based on our some of the polls that we did, 76% of the professionals say that they just make a decision based on candidates' physical appearance. They have seen your CV, they just want to put a face to it. So they want to understand, or they want to know more of you. So that's why try and put your best foot forward. Try and go through this exercise or go through an online interview just as you would prepare yourself for a regular interview or a physical interview. And then again, be confident. So there is no replacement to being confident on a interview. Again, try and show your passion, and you would see the passion coming from Dr. Sangeet while he was presenting. I love the fact that Viraj was actually standing and delivering his presentation. So these are all the facts. That's how you bring in that passion within these calls or presentations. So make sure that you're able to reflect that while you're in an interview, and then you're able to show your achievements or highlight your achievements. So these were some of the things that I would really highlight to you in your fact that you are trying to look for a job, or you are looking to switch. These are some of the areas that I would basically highlight and help. These are some of those techniques that these are very basic, but at the same time we forget while we are doing the whole exercise. We get so much involved with the worry of that, oh my goodness, will I find a job or not? We forget to cross all the check boxes. So I'm happy to take questions, and at the same time, don't forget to ask those questions while you're in an interview as well, because it shows your enthusiasm and your understanding about the organization and about the interview as well. So, but at the same time, try to be brief and try to make sure that your responses are not too long, where people can get bored. So that's it from my side. Please go ahead, and I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nauman, for sharing the tips and strategies from a recruiter's perspective. We have a few questions, but in the interest of time, we'll be just taking 2 of them. The first question is from Kamal. It's with over 20 years of experience, the CV becomes quite big. I can concise it into a functional resume. Is functional resume out of fashion?
So I think what I would say is that if you are in front of a recruiter, you only get about 30 seconds. So what you would want to make sure that you do is you give them the best resume possible. So if you feel that you can highlight yourself in that 2-page resume more than enough, then that's perfectly fine. But anything beyond the 3-page is definitely a no. So a functional, I have seen multiple formats. Some people are using a skills table as well, where they are highlighting their skills and the on a graphical presentation. So all of these are helpful, but at the same time, what works best for you is you should use, but then just keep it concise. That's the key.
Okay, one more question. How much percentage of position are filled with references in UAE compared to using job websites? That's a tricky one.
Okay, well, see, the first thing that happens anyways is somebody posts a job, right? Even through reference or without reference, the first step is generally 99% of the time people post a job, or first thing they do is look within their circle, and the next step is looking for posting a job. In bigger companies, you just cannot do anything without posting a job, right? You have to go out there in the market, look for the best candidates, and come back. So if you ask me, should I apply for on jobs or not? Yes, of course. There is no 2 ways about that. You should not apply. Will your references work? Well, of course. References do work, but if it is not working for you, then that means it doesn't work for everyone, right? So if you ask 10 people who are looking for jobs, then if they're still looking for a job, then their references are not working. So point being that references help, but they just open, or they help you open the door. Sometimes what's more difficult is that opening of the door, because nobody looks at your CV, or you get filtered out. That's the only advantage, but you still have to go through an interview. You still have to sit there and present yourself. So don't underestimate your skill set, and just by the fact that you feel that every job out there is getting filled by reference only.
Thank you very much, Nauman. And may I ask CA Krishnan to present the certificate of appreciation?
Thanks a lot, Mr. Norman. It was a very interesting session, very interactive session. We really enjoyed each and every bit of it, even though the 30 minutes has been passed, and it was so interesting. And I believe what you suggest, basically, whether our people should engage a professional CV writer to prepare their resume, because generally you are talking about 30 seconds to see the filter the resume. But generally we write a big resume, so it is ideal to engage a professional writer to prepare a resume which can be added advantage, even though that people might be having a skills, but the first selection is done by the system, which requires only 30 seconds. What do you suggest on that?
See, I'll give you the example of when you try and sell your car. The first thing you do is you take it to a workshop, you get it shined, and you make sure that it's sparkling inside out, right? So that's exactly what I would suggest you do with your CV. You want to make sure it's shining, it's inside out. So if you cannot do it on your own, and this is why you take it to the workshop, that's what you should do with the CV. So if you feel that you can spend that time making sure it shines, then that's fine. But if you feel that you need an expert help, then go to that workshop, make sure it shines.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot once again for your for your thoughts and well explained on the subject. As a token of appreciation, we really appreciate your time, and we have posted a certificate for you as an for giving your guidance and suggestions to all our members. Thanks a lot. We really enjoyed each and every moment of your session.
So kind of you. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to John's session next.
Thank you, Norman. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Norman. Let's quickly move on to the last and final session of the day. It's my pleasure to introduce John Falls, the director and co-founder at Hoyamal Recruitment. John has 15 plus years of experience working in the recruitment industry. He has worked for some of the leading recruitment companies in the world, as well as 2 years with LinkedIn, working with clients in Europe and Middle East and Africa to attract and engage talent through strategic employer branding. In 2017, he realized his dream of building his own business, Hoyamal Recruitment, which today boasts of 10 specialized consultants and offices in Dubai and London. Welcome, John, to the session.
Thank you very much. How are we all? I've got the anchor leg, the graveyard shift. So hopefully everyone's still with us. I'll try and wrap this up fairly quickly. But I think, Shafiq, you're a genius putting this all together, because the speakers today and what they've spoken about, I don't know about anyone else, but I feel have complemented each other very well. And in fact, if I look at some of my notes, so starting with Mr. Nasser talking about how we must move with change, this is what I'm going to talk about, and how you can work with the likes of myself, headhunters, recruiters, to essentially give the best account of yourself and move with the times. So talking about how you can leverage technology and do things differently. Our fathers, how they used to get a job, it's very different how we would want to get a job now. So I kind of like the way that we started off with talking about change. Viraj, with the personal brand, I will speak a lot about that. As you guys alluded to there, I used to work at LinkedIn, which is all about employer brand, which was companies, how they reach out to people, to candidates to get them into their business. But actually, I like talking about the flip side of that. So how I work with my candidates to give the best account of themselves to businesses. We look at Sagid as well. Really interesting about, I've written it down here for myself, and I'll put it on my desk tomorrow. Did I do my best? Did I do my best too? So we can talk about how you can do that in terms of when you're looking for a role, whether you're active or passive, what you can do every day to make sure that you're putting yourself in the right position. And going to my notes again. And Norman, obviously from Bait, I will touch on some of the points that he's talked about and double down a little bit about maybe on the CV element to it, keyword searching. Really interesting. My favorite point was the 82% research, people research you before you even go for an interview. That's crazy. So again, I will probably talk more about LinkedIn, because I think everyone will agree that is the premier tool to employ, and yeah, yes, you could look at Facebook and things like that, but really people, the first thing they're going to do is looking on LinkedIn. So shall I share my screen? And here we go. So again, I'll try and fly through some of this, but the content I'll go through is a bit of a market overview, but I won't spend too long about that. I want to talk about identifying the challenges and creating solutions in the current market. I want to understand the importance of the classification of passive candidates and the mindset versus active candidates. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Working with recruitment firms like myself to maximize your success. What's success? I guess success is getting the job that you want, whether you're desperately looking for a job or you're strategically working your way through your career path. I'll look at CVs, and similar to what Norman says here, highlighting your unique selling points, but I'll double down a little bit on that. And then we'll look at optimizing your online presence. And again, on the LinkedIn side, we'll have a bit of fun with that with Norman. And then I'm gonna tell you the #1 way to find your dream job. Whether you guys will agree with me or not, that remains to be seen. So I'll fly through into it. Let's not get too bogged down of the current market. I guess I wrote this down, but obviously it's been a huge impact the last few years. But if you read some of that,
John, I'm sorry. Are you sharing content, John?
Oh yes, I am.
We're not able to see the screen.
I beg your pardon. Okay. Could you invite me to share? Sorry. Share screen. Here we go. Apologies.
No props. Got it.
We're in. There we go. So yeah, there's a little bit of stuff there that we'd want to talk about, but essentially it's just talking about the how bad it's been for the employment market. There is some positivity coming back, and as Norman said, we are experiencing as a business huge amounts of jobs coming through. I myself, as a lot of you know, work in finance, work with financial accountants, and it is getting busy. But as we'll talk about, it's a very saturated marketplace for you guys. Okay, so can everyone read the full screen there? I know that there's some of the cameras are in the way, but we'll try and go for it. So challenges for the candidates in 2021 across MENA. So competition for roles. Every time we post a job, for instance, or any employer posts a job, you can even see there's thousands of CVs being put out there for a role. I think there's actually fewer jobs being posted these days for accountants. Probably, when we talk about MENA, UAE, KSA, I'm seeing a big shift in terms of shared service centers being moved outside of the region, which is creating less jobs. So the jobs that we're seeing are mostly replacement through attrition, or someone touched on it earlier in the fintech space, so if you're a CFO or a financial controller in an oil and gas company, you're not really going to be potentially going to be looked at for a fintech startup role, or you might not even want to look at that anyway. And we'll talk about that as well, because I talk a lot to my candidates about the relevance industry experience. And if we had more time, it was a bit more of an open forum today, I'd be really interested to hear all your thoughts, because I really agree with many of you CFOs, FDs, and saying you can do any job, any finance job in any company. I absolutely agree with that. However, the market, i.e. our clients, dictate that they want industry experience. So part of what I'll speak about today is how we can work together and manage expectations of yourself and myself, so that we understand that. Because I think sometimes I feel a bit of frustration with candidates, because they're saying, well, I can get that job, I've got all the experience. Yes, you absolutely have, but you're not getting looked at, not because of that, your experience, it's because you don't have the industry skill set. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we can counteract that and position yourself in a way that is relevant. And Norman touched on that in how you create a CV. Another challenge that I really recognize, and it is a fact, is the packages that are being driven down. Things like schooling and bonus have been removed. Schooling used to be, when I first came to the region, was 70 to 90,000 per child. Now, the most I see is 45,000 dirhams per child per year. And then schooling goes up, schooling fees go up. So I know that's a big challenge for a lot of people. I thought I'd mention that just because my team are very sympathetic to that, and I speak for other recruiters, I guess, in the market, that it's a challenge and it's something that is going to come to a factor when you're looking at different positions. Just trying to move on to the next slide. Okay, so we look at so I want to talk about active versus passive candidates. So this is how we kind of, not we, but the industry will classify candidates. So you have the active candidates. So that makes up about 25% of people out there. These are people that perhaps have lost their job, or they know that their job is coming to an end. They can see redundancy on the horizon, and yeah, they're actively on it, applying for every job, getting out there, and I don't want to say the word desperate, but are in that kind of mindset. Passive candidates are the guys that are in a job, happy, and are just trying to navigate their career in the right way, so they can cherry pick the right opportunity, which is going to essentially drive them to where they want to be. I would say 95% of placements at Hoyamail recruitment that we do is through the passive candidates. Now, that's probably not what, I don't know what the demographic is that is listening today. Let's just say it's 50-50. That's still a lot of people that are going to think, wow, that, you know, what are my chances of getting a job, or getting the next job that's going to be the next stepping stone in my career. So what I've been thinking about this, and what I think is a good thing for people to do is have an active approach, a passive approach to everything that they do. So what do I mean by passive approach? So the passive guys are strategic, they leverage contacts, they are concise, they understand how to keyword and to sell themselves in the right way, both online, in discussion, and throughout when they're speaking to people in interview stage. And it is a mindset, because I think if you're an active candidate, I said the word that I promised myself I wouldn't say earlier was desperate, but sometimes we feel that as recruiters. I speak to, you know, and I that's a great amount of respect for people that are looking for a job, because I speak to you every day. But there is a very clear difference when I'm speaking to people, and the feeling you get from that kind of mindset that you get from people and their approach. And then subsequently with that, talking about perception. So if I'm perceiving that and I get you an interview, what do you think the employer is going to think? They're going to know straight away that, do you know what, this guy, he'll take any job. You know, I might, you know, if they're not a very good client or company, they might not offer you what you're worth, because they think, do you know what, he needs that job. I hope that kind of resonates with some people, because my take on it is that you should know your self-worth, you should know your market worth, and you should work with your recruiter to approach the market in the correct way. Again, I talk for myself and how my recruitment company works. I don't know about others. Like any industry, there's good and bad out there, right? So working with a headhunter, I underlined with there because I think often, I know it's very different when you look at executive search versus recruitment agencies. We like to think of ourselves as an executive search firm that work within a recruitment agency. And I think that is, you know, it is how we work. So what can we do? So I think something we should just throw out there straight away. And I said to the guys when I agreed to speak was that I will be brutally honest, and sometimes I might shoot myself in the foot when I say things. But one of the things that I wanted to be honest about is expectations on us to you and you to us. And one thing that is, I don't think candidates understand sometimes, is that our success as a business is purely dictated by that of the market. I.e., if we don't have a job for you, we're stumped. If I could place every candidate that comes into my inbox or calls me, then I'd be loving life. I'd be happy for you. I'd be happy for me. It would be fantastic. However, the bottom line is that's just not what the market dictates. To use a recruiter, as we know, it costs money for the employer. So specifically within COVID, that was what the first thing to go was budget for recruitment companies. So I know, again, I'm being honest, but think about that when you're speaking to recruiters, not just my company, any recruiter. I think that's a good way. And the elephant in the room as well is, if you win, we win. Yeah, it is a business what we have. So we want to help you. So we're always there to help you. You know, yes, it's a financial transaction at the end, but leading up to that is a huge amount of consultative work that we do with our candidates. And it's really not, you send a CV, we just send it. So much more goes into it. And if we had longer today, we'd talk about that. But today was just a bit of a high level view, so you can perhaps get an understanding how it works and how we can best put your foot forward. So building relationship with your recruiter is really, really important, and something that I pride myself on. And as I've written there, my best clients that I work with now were originally my candidates. So that we really want to build that relationship as well. It's reciprocated. So yeah, take time to, I guess, to be open and honest with your recruiters. So be honest about what your dream job is, where you want to go within your career. If you're an accountant and you want to be a CFO in 5 years, okay, let's work together to put something to create a roadmap where you can make the best moves, which are going to hopefully get you there. Probably not in 5 years, but you never know. So yeah, a good recruitment firm will actively market your profile to your desired employers. So if someone comes to me and goes, John, I want to work for XYZ, okay, great. However, back to my point before about having it to be relevant. There's no point me sending a guy that works for Shell and trying to place him in Google. Greatest amount of respect, it's not going to happen. And if I send that CV to my client, and I do that every day with different candidates who are irrelevant, I will lose my client. Again, I'm being honest about how it works. So what a good firm would do is say, look, what role do you want to get to? Let's now look at your skill set, look at your industry background, look at the implementations that you've done, look at your qualifications, look at the systems that you've worked with, and now let's tailor your profile, and then we'll reach out to someone that actually we've got a good shot with you getting an interview with. That's what a good recruitment company should do, okay? And then once you've established a relationship with your recruiter, you'll sit on a matrix of candidates. Well, this is what we do. You'll sit on our matrix or a system, and we will consider you for any other opportunity that may come through. So when a client comes to me and goes, I need a financial controller, X background, I should know straight away through looking at my matrix, because I'm speaking to people like you guys every day. I know what you want. I know what your skill set is, and then I can reach out. And I'm sorry if I'm simplifying the process, but I think it's quite interesting for you guys to understand how we work in the background, so we can both work together in a successful way. I was going to take this last bit out about what may irritate consultants, because I thought maybe it was a little bit inappropriate, but I don't think it is. I think it's interesting because I hear this online, on blogs, through recruiters. I see people complaining about it on LinkedIn, but I know this won't. The people that do these things, they have the active candidate mindset. I think that's why I kept it in, to kind of drive that thought process home. So don't apply for jobs that you're not qualified for or suited to. I used to work a lot with Emirates, and the amount of times they said that you'd get a marketing associate applying for a pilot a job was all the time, just in case. Maybe I'll be that one time. I'll be the guy that they give it to. It's not going to happen. Also, once you've applied with us, for instance, or any recruiter or any business, once you've sent your profile, most of the big companies will have an ATS system, that applicant tracking system, and your CV's there, and they're taking out all the keywords, everything, and it's pushing your CV forward to all the roles that they have. Okay, so so don't, it's a waste of your time to keep sending. If you can't get hold of an agent, because we do literally get thousands of calls and emails every day, be patient. The bandwidth might not always be there, but they'll come back to you. A good recruiter will come back to you. But again, to reconfirm, the active versus passive candidate in the market, the passive candidate won't worry about these kind of things. They understand that. An active candidate will hound, send their CV to every single role, and roles that are not relevant for you. Don't be that guy. You don't want to be that guy. You want to be more strategic and a higher level. Okay, so again, Norman spoke a little bit about CV stuff, so I'll fly through this and maybe pick out a few key things that I feel we could incorporate. Again, what is your unique selling point? Incorporate that into a short summary. So we'll come to cover letter in a minute, but I think the short summary, just before you have your education and everything else, and then your work experience, that is where you need to really hit home your keywords and your key achievements. And I don't like it being more than 2 or 3 lines. So don't worry about kind of having some kind of shorthand or a list. Get your punchy achievements and your unique selling points in there. You know, what systems have you implemented? What change have you made? What transformation projects have you worked on? Yeah, so many different things you could put, but be different. Don't use the word, I'm a dynamic accounting professional. You know, the word dynamic shouldn't be allowed on a CV. And again, sorry if you guys are having to scribble out your CVs as we speak, but there we go. So we talked about earlier about being concise in your CV, 2 or 3 pages. 2 pages, I think anyone up from an accountant all the way up to financial controller, I think you can get that in 2 pages. CFO, 3 pages. FD, CFO, 3 pages. Formatting, so something I wanted to share was, and again, I don't know if Norman speaks about this, what they do on BAID, but when we send a CV to a client, we format it onto a template which has our logo on the top, and we embed all your salary expectations, your key achievement. We do that for you in the background before we send your CV. So a bugbear, and this is like an insider bugbear, is don't get too fancy with your tables and colors and shading and pictures and pie charts, because if we're going to send it, we will just send it as a clean, concise template, a CV template. Again, maybe I'm being too candid there, but it would save a lot of time for a lot of people. But I don't think you need to be putting pie charts on CVs at your for you guys. You know, stats, yes. Key highlight achievements, yes. Where can you make impact? Where can you add value? Size of teams you've led. Again, how can you affect the bottom line? You might be an internal auditor, but what are the commercials that you save the business by finding holes and implementing strategies to plug those holes? You know, think commercially. If you think commercially every time, bottom line every time, that is when you're a C grade candidate up to an A grade. Cover letter. So we could probably have a long discussion about whether cover letters are relevant or there's a need. We could talk about whether CVs, if there's any need for the CV. Maybe one day CVs will not be there, it will just be a short synopsis or I don't know, a QR code, and that's it. I don't know. But absolutely on the cover letter, I agree. Keep it short, but must be tailored to the role and to the business. So many times I can just see it's copy paste, really long cover letter before you even get to the CV. Think about if someone like my team are looking at hundreds of CVs a day, are they reading all of that? I don't know. For a business, what potentially would be good if you're applying directly for roles with clients is a quick intro about yourself. Again, highlighted, similar to what's under your what's above your education on a CV, but make it relevant to that job description. Make it relevant to what that business is doing. Google the business on Google News, and see what different transformation, different regions that they're working in, and tailor it. Then you are really now working at that high level and being completely different to the rest of the market, which I think everyone wants to be there. Yeah, don't fall into the trap of copy pasting your job description into your CV. No one should sound like a robot, and it's probably written by HR, right? So not always relevant. My wife's in HR, and if she's heard that, then I'm in trouble. So this online perception piece, I think if you look at how the world works now with Instagram, Facebook, everything else, your online perception in and outside of work is everything. And I think if you forget that, then someone that is either looking for an immediate role or is looking to plan their next move up the ladder, you have to really think about this and make sure that you're optimizing, your LinkedIn profile. So we'll look at that in a short while. Sharing relevant work presentations. So yeah, online. So make sure that you're sharing anything that is different, that can be shared. Presentations, workshops that you've led, different presentations that you've given for these similar instances, podcasts, all that kind of thing. It's all very well doing it, but you need to get it out there in front of people so they can see that. And absolutely LinkedIn is the place to do that if you are looking to get hired. How to communicate with employers and recruiters. Yeah, so even if I have connected with someone on LinkedIn, or I have spoken to them in the past at an event and they send me an email, the amount of times that the grammar's not there, or they've spelt my name wrong, and again, this could be directly to employers, not just working with headhunters. It's so important that I know, and again, I'm not telling you guys how to suck eggs, and I know for a lot of people, particularly the audience here, it's a second language, but you need to be hot on that. Otherwise, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's an obvious one, but I get CFOs that still get that wrong. Engaging with your network. We'll talk about that in a sec, but get out there, be part of the conversation, not just a thumbs up or a like. Ask questions that people are going to get involved with. Post interesting articles and ask people, tag someone in that you think could be interested. All these kinds of things are getting you out into the marketplace and part of the conversation, and that's where you want to be. So what I thought would be quite fun is if we took someone's LinkedIn profile and just had a look at it through the eyes of a recruiter. Norman volunteered, not voluntarily. I just said we're doing it, and he thankfully said he wouldn't mind. Don't worry, I will take it easy. And actually, having a look at it, it's fantastic anyway. But I'll highlight a few points. I couldn't. This is the best way I could do it. So each page, it would be as if you were scrolling down. Okay, so I've looked at my 30th, 40th CV of the day, and then Norman's comes into my inbox, and what do I see? What am I looking at as a recruiter? Okay, picture straight away. I think we could do a vote on it if we wanted to, but and see what people say in the chat box. But I think that's a great photo because you're smart. It's you're clean, looking. It's in focus. Good, nice background. It tells a story about. I'd say that you work in a technology business and you're a CFO. It says that you're not wearing a tie. So you work probably most of the time, the guys that you work around, probably yourself, wear a t-shirt, but you're the CFO and you elevate yourself. Potentially, if you're in financial services, you'd wear a tie. Certainly, for instance, if I go to a tech client, and I will wear probably something more casual. If I go and see a bank or an investment company or a government, semi-government entity, I will wear suit and tie. because I'm dressing for the occasion. That's, you want to project there again, going back to one of the previous sessions, your personal brand. There, that right there is bang on what I'd say you should be projecting. You missed a trick with the background where the arrow starts. You can actually put a background much like the Norman's got there. You could have Dubai, you could have anything that relates to your business. What I would say, yeah, that's just a small point, but you've got a gap there. You could fill that with family, or you could fill that with technology. I don't know, but again, it's that instant thing that people associate with you when they see your profile. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, your job title, very good. Says exactly who you are and your key achievements and highlights and what you're proud of and you want people to associate you with. Okay, so that's a good thing. I think that comes up again. Yeah, ACCA Global Council, good. Okay, the next bit I'd look at probably is this part, the about part. So I often see this empty with all different levels of candidates. I read through earlier, Norman's done fantastically well because I think he recognizes that how the algorithm works in LinkedIn is taking keywords, keyword searches. So if you're in, like yourself, if you're in technology, you want to talk about the technology you work with, the regions that you work in, team, any programs, SAP, Oracle, get that all in there, because if someone is searching online on a recruiter, that's where it will pick it up from. These are the extra ways that you can cram in and drive your CV, your profile up the rankings. I know you guys know this, but a lot of people don't do it still. Next, okay, so the featured, this very, very strong with Norman. Actually, he's in the community, speaking all the time at different events. He's got himself in the media a lot. This is a A-class candidate in terms of that, getting himself out there, being part of the conversation, as I said earlier. Going back to what we were talking about earlier in the other sessions, you know, what are you doing every day to push yourself to be part of those conversations? You know, get yourself out of your comfort zone. It might just be a small thing within your team. You know, you don't want to be the guy presenting. Well, be the guy who presents. Be the guy who puts presentation together, and then get it out there on your profile, because it's elevating yourself and then getting it out into the employment world. So that was really strong. And activity, again, his activity, he's speaking with his network. He's speaking to them every day. He's thumbs up, he's commenting on posts, he's asking questions. This will again drive you guys the attention of employers to your profile. So it's, you know, make sure it's relevant content that you're posting, make sure it's relevant content that you're commenting with, but it really does work. Don't hide away. Okay, so this part was maybe where it's lacking. So most of you will know that under each section where your job and company is, there's room for you to thrash out your profile and what you do in your day-to-day job, or say anything you want. I would say this is an opportunity to maybe hit 3 to 5 key points of what you deliver every day within your business. Don't be scared to do that, and because you think maybe your employer will say, well, why is he doing that? A good employer will want you to show off, because they want to have the best people in the market working for them. It's gonna help them attract better people. So show off. This is where you put your key points. And again, the whole keyword search and ranking, this is where I'd say Norman's missing a trick here, because all the good stuff that I'm sure he's done at Bait, I know he's done at Bait.com, he needs to get that in there. Even if he doesn't want to move for a role now, what if someone is looking to launch a business quite similar and looking for someone with his background, but in 3 to 5 years time? But he needs to get on that radar. It doesn't matter if you're looking now or later on. Do the work now, and you'll be thought of later on the line. And that goes all along. But again, like the CV, don't just fill it with little is more. Don't just fill it with the job description and boring stuff. Top few things, get it in there, and think keywords that are going to make you different and drive you up to the top of the ranking. Education, great, get that in there. That's quite obvious. This is quite a new thing, and again, it's something that the algorithm that LinkedIn use, they do look at this. So get your skills in there, and get people to endorse you for those skills. I know this is another one where it's getting yourself out your comfort zone, and you might think it's a little bit old, a little bit new school. If the old school listening, they're a bit like, oh, why do I have to do this? It works, and this is what people are looking at, and it puts your profile in the right places. So yeah, maybe you wouldn't put financial reporting, financial analysis, financial accounting. I mean, everyone on this call except for me can do that. So think of the other things that you could do that are different, because I'm sure there's cooler things on there that you want to be associated with, and people that could endorse you. Yeah, we've done that. Okay, so this is another one as well, but again, getting yourself out of your comfort zone. Don't be scared to ask for references and recommendations. See, Norman here has been shy because he's given lots, but he probably hasn't. I bet he hasn't asked anyone to give him any. I would say for the more junior candidates or people listening or mid-level, try and make it the most senior person possible. I think that's an obvious thing when you're taking references, but I think the more senior and heavy hitting that could be, then that's going to hold you in good stead. So you've got some work to do there, Norman. Okay, and then we have interests. Okay, that's pretty good. I don't know. On the only thing that I could suggest here is the groups that you attach yourself to. Make you easier to find in. So say if I'm looking for someone who's ICAEW or ICCA, if you're a part of that group, then I will make it easier for you to find, if that makes sense. But that's a small thing. But if you're being ultra optimized, then that's what you'd need to do. So all in all, a very good profile. A few tweaks, and you'll be a rock star LinkedIn profile. Okay. So what now? So you've optimized your LinkedIn profile. You've made a great relationship with a trusted headhunter or headhunters. Absolutely try and use a few that you feel that can represent you in the right way. You've got your CV. It's concise. It's tailored to the role, to the industry. You know your market worth and expectations. So we haven't really spoken about this, but I touched on it. Talk to your recruitment consultant about and your peers about your market worth, what you should be getting paid, what the packages are in the market, what's happening, because don't be desperate to just take a job and take something lower. You've worked really hard to get yourself to whatever level you're at. I would say if you do all these things and you position yourself in the right way, and then you interview well, you should command a package that is market rate and above. And also, we would always work with you to do that. Again, from a win-win situation. Stay active online, Indeed, Glassdoor, Bait, get yourself out there, and keep, make sure that you've got the searches. You can do Google searches, Google alerts for any roles, all these little things that will make sure that as soon as a role comes live, you're onto it, and then you can leverage your network, which I'll talk about now. I'm finishing up. Hopefully I'm okay for time. So leveraging your own network that you've built up over the years, whether it's people that you've worked with, people you've gone to school with, people you cycle with, you've got to make that network work for you. You can use agencies like ourselves, and we can open doors, absolutely. But I don't think you should rely on one way or two ways of doing things. The number one way for you guys to find a role is by cutting me out and using your referrals. So ask for introductions. No one's going to say no to introduce you to someone. I think that bit is like a mental block. Again, when we talk about your mindset, you should just ask. They're not going to say no. The worst thing they could say is no, but they won't. And then when you communicate with that introduction, again, make it very short, concise, have an action point. Are you available on this day? Here's my number, or can I set up a call for you? Make sure the grammar's there. Keep it punchy. Definitely reference the referral, the guy who referred you, because that's an instant thing that will happen. That's essentially how we open up our business, and that's how we take your CVs and your profiles, and we create interviews for you. Very high level, quick view of how we look at things as recruiters. If you're looking for you're not in a job and you're looking for a job, or you're looking for that next step up, good luck. Happy to work with any of you. Please reach out. I'm sure that our contact details will be shared. Also, if you're looking to hire, please get in touch. We can definitely help you.
Thank you, John, for such an informative session. The reflections from the headhunters' perspective were really valuable. Since we are running a little bit short of time, we'll just take 2 quick questions. First question is from our past chairman, CA Suresh Panwar. It's what is your take on switching the industry and how the prospective employer looks into this?
Well, it can really depend. I think it will depend on what the industries are. I think you need to be honest with yourselves that, an example, if you're going into construction and then into pharmaceuticals, it's probably not going to happen. If you're in pharma and you want to go into FMCG, yes. I think go back and think, rather than if you really want to move to an industry that is way away from what you are currently doing or have a lot of experience in, pull out the things that you've done within that business that are relevant. Where's the P&L similar? What are the transformation projects? What are the systems used? You've got to use that stuff, because it's not a fair playing field for you. You're not going to be able to compete against a guy who works with a competitor. Realistically, and particularly at senior level. Lower down, you can move around. Yeah, accountant up to finance manager, you should be able to move if you sell yourself in the right way.
Okay, one last question from CA Golte Mohammed. What should be the approach for a matured, say 55 plus years candidate to look for a job change? What are the chances of being hired by the recruiter or being noticed by the recruiter?
Should be relaxing, playing some golf. No, look, in the UAE, I think everyone on the call here will know that's very difficult. It would be difficult. I would say someone like yourself, work as a consultant, and pitch yourself as a consultant. It's probably your best way of doing it. Don't know if that's the right.
So that's a wonderful advice. I think that's a wonderful advice.
There it is.
Maybe we'll take one last question. With that, we'll wind it up. How do recruiters perceive job seekers who have been in one role, a single role for a long time, say 8 years?
Yeah, because that's really different to, say, the millennial approach that we now give, which is you don't wait for that gold watch at the end of your career. Again, I mentioned our fathers. That's what used to be the way they used to do things. But now, we'll see a big movement towards the gig economy, contracting, assignments. So definitely there's a massive change. I think 8 to 10 years. Again, like I said before, think about how you can sell yourself in a different way and make yourself different to the market. If it's in a particular industry, you should be able to, or a vendor markets into that industry, you should be able to muscle your way in.
Okay, thank you very much, John. And may I invite our Vice Chairman, CA John George, for presenting the certificate of appreciation.
Thank you, Anu, CA Anu. Thank you, John. You really impressed us.
Thank you. Thank you for this.
This was one of the sessions we were looking for a long time, and finally we got it. We were listening to each and every bit of what you said, and it was really a practical approach. You start with the challenge. It was a little scary, but later on you give some hopes and how to move forward. That was really interesting. And thank you for teaching us to be a passive candidate. It was excellent. And just one question, I like to get an answer from you. How you negotiate your package? Do you mention the package at the time you you apply through the website? So what is your view on that?
Okay, so if you're applying directly to an employer or indeed to a recruiter, and it asks to manage your package, to send your package along, I think just honesty is the best policy. I think, even if you think you're getting paid lower in the market, get your foot in the door, and then during the interview process, show your value, and a good business should recognize that. And whatever the budget is, make sure that it's enough to retain you. In this market, if someone wants you, they should do what they need to do, even though the packages are lower, and they're not going to be astronomical. The extras aren't going to be as appealing anymore. But yeah, honesty is the best policy.
Thank you very much. And as a token of appreciation, we are presenting a certificate.
Thank you.
And thank you once again. CA Shafiq and the same Anu, can I go to the vote of thanks or something is there?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It is my honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks for today's webinar on headhunting and how to upskill and reskill to enhance the employment opportunities. The webinar was engaging and informative. I'm sure that all the members attended today have enhanced the knowledge from HR perspective about our attitude, about CV writing, LinkedIn, many things related to HR. Today's topics are useful in our career, and I hope that our members will implement in their career. I would like to thank Mr. Nasser Al-Budushi, Head of Group HR, Allianz Sons, for delivering the keynote address. Also, I would like to thank all the speakers, Dr. Sangeeta Ibrahim, Vice President, Head of Learning and Development from First Abu Dhabi Bank, Mr. Vijay Kalra, Executive Coach and Trainer, Speaker and Cultural Strategist, Mr. Nauman, CFO from Byte.com, and we are happy to see your CV LinkedIn as well today. And Mr. John, Director and Co-founder. Thank you everyone. I also request all members to participate in our social event, which is coming up, like cycling, our health weight reduction event. Please participate in that. I thank all committee members for making this webinar successful, especially CA Muhammad Shafiq and CA Anu. They have put a lot of efforts to make this happen. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our thanks to all our sponsors. I wish to express my gratitude to all the participants. Before I conclude, we have an exciting prizes for engaging attendees. I would like to announce two winners. CA Suresh Panwar, and CA Kunhu Mohammed. Both are the winners for today's engaging attendees. Congratulations to both of you. Thank you for being with us this evening. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
For your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Viraj, Raman, Nasir, John,
Okay.
and Sangeet. Yeah. Thank you so much. All the members, thank you.